Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter-Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet.
Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Christmas drama on this Christmas Eve with episodes of Tales of the Texas Rangers, The Whistler, also Suspense, Herbert Marshall in Holiday Story, not a very nice show. Also Fibber and Molly and The Patient Little Star, the conclusion of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon, and Claudia, actually next to the last episode of Jonathan Thomas and Claudia. And that's all coming up straight ahead here on this Monday, 23rd day of December, 358th day of the year, 8 days left till we get to 2025. George Washington resigned as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army on this date in 1783 at the Maryland State House in Annapolis, Maryland. Published in the New York Sentinel newspaper on this date in 1823, the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, or The Night Before Christmas.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
Illinois Senator, the late Everett Dirksen. Quite the orator. He recorded 4 spoken word albums. In 1969, his recording of Gallant Men hit the Billboard magazine Top 40 at the age of 71. In 1888, Vincent van Gogh cut off the lower part of his left ear, took it to a brothel, and gave it to a prostitute named Rachel. That was in 1888. Federal Reserve Act signed into law by President Wilson in 1913, creating the Federal Reserve. And it was on this date in 1941 Bob Hope entertained the troops for the USO on this date via the Command Performance radio show.
This is Bob Hope thanking you for those letters to Command Performance, Armed Forces Radio, Los Angeles, USA. Speaking for everybody on Command Performance and saying the best of the best on the USA. So long.
Hope would continue to travel overseas to entertain the troops for the next 50 years. Ironically, on this date, Hope named by radio critics as the top radio comedian in America. In 1947, the transistor first demonstrated at Bell Laboratories. In 1954, the first human kidney transplant performed by Dr. Joseph E. Murray at Peter Bent Brigham Hospital in Boston. In 1967, President Johnson traveled to Vatican City for an audience with Pope Paul VI.
I have come around the world to call on His Holiness Pope Paul in the spirit of his offer of unarmed cooperation toward the reestablishment of true peace. No man can avoid being moved to try harder for peace at Christmas time.
The attempt to enlist the Pope's assistance in ending the Vietnam War, part of the first around-the-world trip by a sitting president back in 1967. The North Tower of the World Trade Center topped out on this date in 1970 at 1,368 feet, making it the tallest building in the world. In 1982, the Environmental Protection Agency announced it identified dangerous levels of dioxin in the soil of Times Beach, Missouri. And in 1986, Voyager, piloted by Dick Rutan and Jenna Yeager, landed at Edwards Air Force Base in California, became the first aircraft to fly nonstop around the world.
If you got a chance of making it, you just got to go for it. Or else, if Americans didn't have that attitude, they'd still be looking up the rear ends of oxen trying to get around, right?
Like anything, it's always a lot more difficult than you ever imagine. And like we've said from the beginning, if it had been easy, we'd done it a long time ago.
Jenna Yeager, Dick Rutan, after they landed the Voyager in California on this date in 1986. Passing away on this date, the bodybuilder Charles Atlas, actor, producer, director Jack Webb, Dragnet fame, and many other things. Actor Billy Barty, comedian, pianist Victor Borgia, and Canadian pianist-composer Oscar Peterson. Birthdays on this date include flamenco dancer Jose Greco, trumpet player Chet Baker, pro bowler Dick Weber, also singer Esther Phillips, Tim Hardin, and actress Elizabeth Hartman, all born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
You remember him as Duke Slater in Gomer Pyle, USMC, and then one of the DJs on Good Morning World, actor Ronnie Shell, 93 years old today. He was in This Is Spinal Tap, but probably best remembered as one of the many voices of The Simpsons. Harry Shearer is 81.
You must find the jade monkey before the next full moon.
The evil Mr. Burns, one of many voices done by Harry Shearer, is 81 years old today. But you remember her for her many years of failure. I think it took 19 years for her to finally get her due and a Daytime Emmy Award as Erica Kane on All My Children. Susan Lucci, 78.
I just want them to know everything there is to know about me. How I grew up lonely and misunderstood, really, and a rose among the weeds and everything.
Susan Lucci, 78 today. Singer Victoria Williams is 66. Kenji Muto, better known as the Great Muta, as a pro wrestler for years, 62 years of age today. Pearl Jam's Eddie Vedder is 60. With Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder's Alive, 60 years old. From As the World Turns, Martha Byrne is 55, and model Holly Madison is 45. Those just a few of the people celebrating the 23rd day of December as their birthday. If this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
And I fibbed up front, because it's not Tuesday, it's Monday, the 23rd of December. And we're going to start off with Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McRae, as it was originally broadcast 73 years ago, December 23rd, 1951, and the Christmas Payoff. That's next.
It's a strange quirk of human nature, but most of us never think, except in the most abstract way, of an accident ever happening to us. It's always the other fellow who's involved. But nevertheless, accidents go right on happening at an ever-increasing, alarming rate. And it can't always be happening only to the other fellow. For instance, 1 out of 5 families will have a traffic accident this year. Think of that. And how can you be sure you won't be that one? Well, there's one way of piling up some percentages in your favor. A few simple precautions will guarantee better accident odds for your family. For one thing, remember it's not always easy to stop quickly in wet weather. Drive so that you can stop when and if you want to. And always drive with a clean, clear windshield. There are a great many safety precautions, and for the most part, it's simply a matter of applying common sense to driving. Just remember to drive as if your life depended on it, because it does.
And on this Monday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we go back to Sunday, December 23rd, 1951, for the first of 2 episodes from that Sunday. We start off with, on the nationwide, with Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McRae. This Christmas episode from December 23rd, 1951, is Christmas Payoff.
Of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McRae as Ranger Jace Pearson. Another authentic reenactment of a case transcribed from the files of the Texas Rangers. dates and places in the following story are fictitious for obvious reasons. The events themselves are a matter of record.
Music means all things to all people. Music is relaxation, adventure, Elysian fields of dreams come true. And at this joyous holiday time, music is Christmas. We of NBC feel proud of our Monday evening lineup of truly fine music programs. Tomorrow means more fine music on NBC with the Railroad Hour featuring Gordon McRae and Lucille Norman in The Happy Prince, a special Christmas Eve production to add to your listening pleasure. Also tomorrow, there's The Voice of Firestone with guest Eleanor Stieber. Later, there's the Telephone Hour with guest soloist Blanche Thiebaum. And tomorrow, enjoy the Christmas program of the Mario Lanza Show with Mario Lanza, lovely Giselle McKenzie, and Ray Sinatra's orchestra. Yes, Monday is your invitation to music over most NBC stations. Make a program note to hear the Railroad Hour, the Voice of Firestone, the Telephone Hour, and the Mario Lanza Show tomorrow. Monday means music on NBC. Hear it on this station.
And now, from the files of the Texas Rangers, the case called Christmas Payoff.
It is 4 p.m. on the afternoon of December 25th, 1940, in the small West Texas town of Rockfield. In his office, Dr. Edward Hartley and his nurse are just clearing up after treating an emergency case, which has taken the doctor away from his family on this Christmas Day.
Doctor, before I leave, would you like me to stay?
Alice, I would just like you to scoot on home where you should have been hours ago.
And what about you? I think it's a shame. The one day in the year family should be together and you have an emergency.
Well, anyway, old Mrs. Thompson will feel a lot better now for the holidays. Pretty nasty infection.
Mm-hmm.
Guess doctoring's the one business can't be run by a time clock.
And nursing's a part of doctoring, so I leave when you do.
Trapped. Sure would have loved to spend the whole day with the youngsters, though.
No, they probably won't even let you back in the house.
Christmas got them so excited I don't think they even know I'm gone. Oh, by the way, you sure you won't have supper with us?
I'd love to, Doctor, but... Oh, no.
Huh? What's the matter?
Doctor, will you come over the window for a minute?
Not another patient.
I think so.
Well, guess the Christmas tree can wait a little longer. Who is it?
I don't know. Here, look. That man just getting out of the car.
I don't recognize him. That arm must be in pretty bad shape. Bandage clear to the elbow.
And why didn't he come in 2 hours ago?
Huh? What do you mean?
That man was sitting in that car 2 hours ago. Only was parked in front of the house next door. I wonder...
Come away from there.
What, Doctor, what...
I don't want him to see you. Now, go on. What else?
Well, just an hour later, when I took Mrs. Thompson out to her car, he was still there.
And he meant it. He really meant it.
Doctor, what is it?
Alice, now listen to me. Don't ask any questions. I want you to get in the supply closet and stay there.
What?
Whatever you do, don't make a sound. No matter what happens out here, don't give yourself away. You understand me? Your life depends on it.
What is it? Why don't we call the sheriff?
I'm going to. Now, hurry into the closet. Now, remember, not a sound. I should have known it'd come. Well, I didn't know when. Oh, come on. Operator, this is Doc Hartley. Listen carefully. I have to speak quietly. Get the sheriff to my office as quick as you can, and don't call back. Just get him out here. Can't stall any longer. Come in. Just a minute. Here goes. Yes?
You Doc Hartley?
That's right.
Well, can I come in?
Oh, of course. Come in. No, that's the supply closet. My dispensary is this way. Mm-hmm. Now, if you'll just get up on the table. Would you like to lie down? More comfortable for that arm.
I'll sit.
That's a lot of bandaging. What did you do to that hand?
Think maybe I sprained it. You're the doc. Suppose you tell me. Always work this slow, Doc?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where's your nurse?
She's gone home long time ago. Not even supposed to be working today. This is Christmas, you know.
Yeah, I know. Why don't you pull the last of the bandage off, Doc? Don't you want to see my hand?
I know what's in it.
Then I'll do it myself. Yeah. See? There's your Christmas present, Doc, in my fist. Nice 38. Don't you want it, Doc?
Why are you doing this? Why?
Maybe I shouldn't give it to you. You guessed what it was. Spoiled my surprise. Nah, you look like a nice guy. I'll give it to you anyway. Look at me, Doc. You know what it's for.
You getcha!
Merry Christmas, Doc.
Sheriff Lon McGill, on arriving at the scene of the crime, found Dr. Hartley dead and Nurse Alice Leonard in a state of physical collapse. He immediately asked for the help of the Texas Rangers. Ranger Jace Pearson was assigned, joining the sheriff at the doctor's office a short while later.
Photographer will be out of your way in a minute, Jace. The nurse I told you about is in the other room. Maybe you want to talk to her first.
Yeah, thanks, Sheriff. She's still as bad off as she was?
Oh, she's some better now. It's a rough thing for a woman to have to go through.
Yeah, plenty rough.
In here, Jace. Alice. Alice, this is Ranger Pearson. It's Alice Leonard, Jace. Been Doc Hartley's nurse for 6 years.
Howdy, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I just can't seem to get a hold of myself. But it was so horrible. It was horrible.
I know how you must feel, ma'am, but you'll be helping a lot by answering a few questions.
I tried.
Fine. Sheriff here has given me what you told him, so I won't put you through that again. Just want to clear up a few things. You know of anyone who might have wanted Doc dead?
Oh, what sort of person would want that? Doctor was a wonderful man. Never had an enemy in his life. Sheriff, he'll tell you that.
That's right, Jace. Doc was a real popular man in this town. I never heard a word against him.
Friend didn't put him where he is now, Sheriff. Ma'am, you say you saw the killer's face?
Yes, through the keyhole.
You think you'd recognize him if you saw him again?
Yes, I'm sure I would.
Good. Now, from their conversation, would you say the doctor knew this man?
No.
Yet when he saw him through the window, he made you hide in the closet.
Yes, that's right.
He say anything at all about the man?
No. Wait, I remember now. He said something about... He meant it.
He meant it?
Yes.
What is it, ma'am?
I just remembered something, a note.
What note, Alice?
Well, a few weeks ago, the doctor got a letter. I opened it because I take care of his mail.
Go on.
The inside was just a piece of paper with words cut out from newspapers pasted to it. It said the payoff is soon.
What did the doctor say when he saw it?
Well, he just laughed, said it was some sort of joke. But I caught him sitting and staring at it a few times after that.
You know where that letter is?
Well, I think it's in his desk.
Miss Leonard, you remember anything about the car this man drove?
No. Just that it was black, a sedan. Oh, and the front fender had a big dent in it. I remember I could see it from the office window.
I think that'll do for now, ma'am. You go home and try and get some rest.
Tell the deputy I said to drive you home, Alice.
I will. I hope you find the man that did this. I hope you find him.
Oh, poor woman. She was mighty fond of the doc, Jace. Must have spent some bad minutes in that closet.
Yeah, the doc had a couple of bad minutes, too, Sheriff. The photographer must be finished in there by now. Let's take a look.
Nothing's been touched in there, Jace. Everything's just the way we found it. Thought you'd want it that way.
Thanks, Sheriff. Let's have a look at the doc.
I'll just whip the sheet off him here.
He shot at close range, all right. Powder burns. The angle of the shot seemed to bear out the nurse's story. Ballistics will fill us in later. Let's have a look at this desk.
Okay, Jace. Well, there's not much on this side, Jace. What's the matter?
Drawer full of Christmas candies. That'll be a nice Christmas for those poor kids.
Hey, wait a minute, Jace. I think this is what you want.
And that's it. The payoff is soon. No envelope with it?
I reckon Doc threw that away.
It'd be a tough one to trace. Cheap paper, the message in newspaper captions. And it's used a lot for blackmail because it's so hard to run down.
Well, where to now, Jace?
Has the doc's wife been told about this yet?
No, been holding off. I sure don't relish it none. Those kids and all.
Let's tell her together then, Sheriff. It's a little easier that way.
Thanks, Jace. Anything more we can do here?
No, but before we go, I want to check on that black sedan with a smashed front fender. See if it's on the stolen car list.
Sure thing.
If you can spare a couple of deputies, Sheriff, I'd like them to do a house-to-house on this street. Maybe somebody else got a look at that car or the killer.
It's a good idea, Jace. There's not much to go on, is there?
There's enough. They always leave enough. And this is one killer I want, Sheriff. I want him bad. A black sedan with a smashed front fender was on the stolen car list. We finished our calls and left. 15 minutes later, we stood in front of a large, neat house on a well-kept street. Staring at the front door, Doc Hartley would never open again. Through the parlor window, we could see 3 laughing kids and proud grandparents around a Christmas tree. It was a rough doorbell to ring.
Darling, I thought you'd never... Oh, I'm sorry. I was expecting my husband. Oh, Sheriff McGill.
Howdy, Miss Hartley. Can we come in?
Oh, why, of course. Please do. I imagine you want to see Ed. I'm sorry he had an emergency, but if you like, I can...
Mrs. Hartley, this is Ranger Pearson.
Howdy, ma'am.
Hello, Ranger. Pleased to meet you.
Ma'am, can we speak to you privately? I mean, in another room, away from them.
Of course. Come in here. Well, what is it?
Ma'am, it's best to say it quickly. Your husband, he's been killed.
Oh, no.
Here, you better sit down, Miss Hartley. There.
Dad.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
How did it happen?
He was shot, ma'am, by a man who came in asking for treatment. I want to find that man, Mrs. Hartley. I know how you feel at a time like this, but if you could answer a few questions, it'd help.
I'll try.
Has anyone threatened your husband that you know of? Did he seem worried lately?
No.
Did anyone call him today beside the woman he went to treat?
Just a man.
What man?
A little past noon, the phone rang. Some man asked for my husband. I told him he was at the office on an emergency, and he just hung up.
You recognize the voice, Mrs. Hartley?
No.
Just one more question, ma'am. Do you know of anyone who had a grudge against the doctor who'd have wanted this to happen?
No. Nobody. Nobody except...
Except who?
Oh, I was thinking of that man, the one he sent to prison.
Sent to prison, ma'am?
I think I can explain that, Jace. You mean that Nixon thing, Miss Hartley?
Yes.
Well, it happened a couple of years back, Jace. A fellow named Al Nixon robbed the payroll of a gas cracking plant about 40 miles from here. Shot during the getaway, though. Came through here and forced Doc Hartley to treat him at gunpoint.
You know what kind of stretch they gave him, Sheriff?
No, I don't remember. You see, that was before I was sheriff. I was living at the other end of the county then. Well, anyway, seems Doc somehow sneaked a phone call while he was treating Nixon, and the police got him. Isn't that right, Miss Hartley?
Yes, they sent him to Huntsville.
Mrs. Hartley, I'm sorry to put you through this. We're going to leave now. Is there anything we can do for you?
Nothing. There's nothing anyone can do. How will I tell the children? Oh, Ed!
Call from KTXA ought to be in any minute now, Sheriff.
I still don't see why you ask him for that rundown on Nixon, Jace. You thinking maybe he's out?
I don't know, Sheriff, but I sure want to find out. Nixon's got a real good motive for this killing.
I got to go with you on that, but...
Hold it, Sheriff. That's it.
KTXA to Unit 10.
Unit 10 to KTXA. Go ahead.
Have information you requested. Al Nixon, sentenced life term, Huntsville Penitentiary, December 1937. Money from gas cracking plant payroll never recovered.
10-4. Unit 10 clear.
KTXA Austin.
Well, that kind of kills that, don't it, Jace? Man with the best motive of all is serving life at Huntsville.
It's still too good to pass by, Sheriff.
What do you mean?
Look, Nixon may be in Huntsville for life, but that doesn't change his motive. It's still good. So good I want to see him. I'm going to Huntsville in the morning.
In a moment, we will continue with Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McRae as Ranger Jace Pearson.
Who catches tuberculosis? The young? Yes, but so do the old. And so do people of any race or nationality. 500,000 Americans are afflicted with TB. 40,000 a year die from it. Yet TB is preventable and curable. It can be controlled. How? One way is through Christmas seals. Christmas seals are the sole support of the 3,000 voluntary associations affiliated with the National Tuberculosis Association, which are fighting to wipe out TB in their communities. The greater the Christmas seal sale, the nearer we are to ending the scourge of tuberculosis. If you haven't already purchased your Christmas seals, you can still buy and use them. Be glad of this easy, inexpensive way to help others. Be grateful for the opportunity to help safeguard your own home against the dread white plague. And now back to Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McRae.
We continue now with Tales of the Texas Rangers and our authentic story, Christmas Payoff.
Next morning, I left Nurse Alice Leonard with the sheriff to begin the long job of trying to pick a killer's picture out of the gallery. Then I headed for Huntsville. I wasn't in the visiting room 5 minutes when Nixon was brought in. A brutal-looking little man who shuffled forward and sat across the table from me, waiting for me to talk. My name's Pearson, Nixon. Ranger Pearson.
What do you want, a medal for remembering your name?
I want some answers.
And if I don't give them to you, you'll have me arrested, huh?
You remember Dr. Hartley, Nixon?
Yeah, I remember him. Look around. Ain't this good reason to remember him?
He didn't put you here. You put yourself here.
Hartley put me here. Oh, but don't you worry a head about me, Ranger. I'll make out. Yeah, you worry about Hartley.
Hartley's dead, Nixon.
You mean that?
He's dead. Shot to death. Something funny, Nixon?
Sure. Don't you get it? He put me in here, now he's dead, but I'm still alive. Ooh, you cops, you're all so smart, ain't you? Sure, you got me, but you never got the money. And best of all, Hartley is dead.
You're in the right place, Nixon.
So that's why you're here, huh? Maybe I killed him, huh? Sure. I'll confess. I just walked through the walls, knocked him off, and flew back like a bird.
Phone call for you, Ranger. You can take it in the office.
All right, guard. Thanks.
You through with Nixon?
Yeah, you can have him.
This way.
Hey, Ranger, arrest me. I killed him.
In there, Ranger.
Thanks. Hello?
Sheriff McGill, Jace. How you making out?
Cold trail, Sheriff. Nixon's no help. How'd you come out?
Nurse picked out a picture, Jace. Swears it's him. Fella named Lou Crowder.
You run a make on him?
I sure did. He did the last 2 years in Huntsville. Released a week ago.
Beginning to fit, Sheriff. Any more on that car?
I was just coming to that. They found it about 100 miles from here. Abandoned in some brush just outside of Crest City.
I want to see that car, Sheriff. Tell him to hold it where it is. As soon as I talk to the warden, I'm heading for Crest City. Want to meet me there?
Sure thing, Jace. Meet you at the hotel.
Never can tell what's coming, Sheriff. That cold trail's all warmed up again. had my talk with the warden and then met the sheriff in Crest City. As we headed for the spot where the abandoned car had been found, I kept thinking of Doc's wife and her 3 small kids. I was getting closer to a killer, and I liked it.
No, I don't know, Jason. No matter how I figure it, there's always a couple of loose ends.
Well, then try this, Sheriff. Al Nixon is doing life for a payroll robbery, and he's convinced it's Doc Hartley's fault. Now, that payroll was never found because Nixon hid it someplace before they got him.
Yeah, I follow that far, Jace.
In Huntsville with Nixon was Lou Crowder. Now, Nixon knew he wasn't ever going to get to use that money, so suppose he made a deal with Crowder. Crowder could have it if he killed Doc Hartley.
But what was to stop Crowder from just digging up the money and not killing the doc?
Now, Nixon's too smart for that, Sheriff. Probably set it up so he'd let Crowder know where the money is after he was sure of Doc's death.
It figures all right. But how would he let Crowder know?
By letter, Sheriff. The warden told me Nixon's already written Crowder 3 times.
What good would that do? All mail coming out of Huntsville is censored, Jace.
I know, but the 2 men had plenty of time to rig a code when they were together in the pen.
Then a letter could be the answer.
That's right. Yeah, the highway patrol car up ahead must be where the car is.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it.
Howdy.
Howdy, fellas. There's a car, Jace, just behind this brush. Jace, even if your figuring's right, what do you reckon this car is going to tell us?
Just one thing, Sheriff. That's it.
I don't get it, Jace.
You will. Look, would Crowder want to hang around a town he'd killed a man in?
No, reckon not.
But if he's expecting a letter from Nixon, he's got a light someplace to get it.
What are you driving at?
Put this together. This car's still in running order. Crowder didn't have to leave it. That makes Crest City a pretty good bet for the place the letter's going to be picked up.
But what if Crowder's already picked the letter up?
It's not likely. Nixon didn't even know about the killing till I told him today. And he'd want to be sure before he paid off.
What if Nixon double-crosses Crowder? Suppose he don't send the letter telling where the money is.
He'll send it, Sheriff. I got a good look at Nixon's face when I told him Doc was dead. He'll send it. Back in Crest City, the postmaster agreed to notify us the minute he got any letter postmarked Huntsville without giving it out. The very next day, the letter was there, and a man had come in for it but was told it hadn't arrived. The postmaster noticed the man was driving a car with a horse trailer attached. I got my horse trailer, and we set the trap in the post office the next morning.
You mind, Mike? That's Crowder, all right, Jace. He got the letter. Shall we take him?
No. Hold it, Sheriff.
What's the matter?
I don't want to take a chance. He's probably armed. Some of these people may get hurt.
Well, what are you going to do?
Give him a lead and tail him. All right, let's move up the front door and see where he goes.
I've been expecting that catalog.
If you want. He just got in that car, Jace.
Yeah.
The one with the trailer.
He's pulling out. Come on.
You reckon he'll head straight for that money?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's not pulling that horse trailer for nothing.
He must be heading someplace he can't use a car.
It's all right with me. We'll get him, Sheriff. Wherever he goes, we'll get him. For almost 3 hours, we trailed Crowder by car, never getting too near him, just pinpointing him. When the country got rough, he left his car and switched to the horse he'd been pulling. So did we. We gave him a bigger lead and just followed his tracks.
Awful rough climb, Jace. You sure we're following him? I don't see any tracks.
We're following him all right, Sheriff. Didn't you just see that turned rock, moist on one side? A hoof did that.
Beats me how you spot him.
Hold it, Sheriff.
Oh.
It's a drop-off just ahead. I want to look.
See anything, Jace?
Shh. Hold it. He's just over the drop, about 20 feet.
Is he digging, Jace?
Better than that, Sheriff. He's found it already. Now, look, Sheriff. He's in a dead-end canyon. I'm going down after him. You cut along this ridge and close in from the base.
All right, Jace, but be careful. Come on, boy.
Crowder! Get your hands up.
You'll never take me, copper!
That's a warning, Crowder. Next one will be through your head. Now throw your gun away.
All right, don't shoot. You see my hands are up.
Keep them there.
Look, Ranger, there's $30,000 here. I'll make a deal with you. Take half the money. Just give me a chance.
Like the chance you gave Doc?
You're not going to get that money.
No, you don't. Give me that knife.
You all right, Jay?
Yeah, I'm all right, Sheriff.
You were taking an awful chance that way, Jace.
I know it, Sheriff.
I had a bad minute there when I saw his knife glint in the sun. Thought you'd have to gun him for sure.
I didn't want it that way. I had to take Crowder alive, Sheriff. He's my Christmas present to the warden at Huntsville.
In just a moment, we will tell you the results of the case you have just heard.
With Christmas just around the corner, we at NBC hope that you all will have a joyful, happy holiday season. With the program scheduled on the NBC Radio Network, we will try to add to your listening pleasure as you relax and tune for your favorite entertainers. Special programs are planned by all of our NBC shows, and we know that you'll want to hear as many of them as you possibly can. To put it in musical form, here is a holiday wish from the NBC Chimes.
Happy holiday, happy listening, happy holiday, happy listening. NBC wishes you a season of good cheer. A merry, merry Christmas and a happier New Year. Happy holiday, happy listening, happy holiday, happy listening.
Yes, from all of us at NBC to all of you throughout the country comes this sincere, hearty wish for a Merry Christmas.
And now, here are the results of the case you have just heard.
On February 3rd, 1941, Al Nixon was removed from Huntsville Penitentiary to stand trial along with Lou Crowder for the premeditated murder of Dr. Hartley. Both men were found guilty. The sentence, death in the electric chair.
This is Joel McRae, folks. I just want to say I hope you'll all have a happy holiday season and many more to come. See you next week.
Next week, Joel McRae in another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. The cast included Tony Barrett, Lillian Bayeb, Whitfield Connor, Lou Krugman, Michael Ann Barrett, and Parley Bear. Technical advisor was Captain M.T. Lone Wolf Gonzalez of the Texas Rangers. This story was transcribed and adapted by Anthony Barrett, and the program was produced and directed by Stacy Keach. Hal Gibney speaking.
Next, it's The Big Show. All this and Tallulah 2 on NBC.
73 years ago, Sunday, December 23rd, 1951, Tales of the Texas Rangers here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from that Sunday is next.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Merrill. In the American Cancer Society's vast effort to control cancer, there is one aspect that interests me particularly. This is the fellowship program for outstanding young doctors. Here are men who have devoted years to preparing themselves for their profession, college, medical school, interning, and perhaps more time as resident physicians. Many promising careers are open to them at this point, careers which will support their families comfortably. Yet, They accept American Cancer Society fellowships at $50 a week. Now, these dedicated young scientists are working for us. We owe it to ourselves to help them in this tremendous fight against man's cruelest enemy. We can and we must help this fellowship program as well as the other valuable endeavors of the American Cancer Society. Give generously. Mail your contribution today to Cancer, care of your local post office.
All righty, classic radio theater with Wyatt Cox. We're looking at Sunday, December 23rd, 1951, the Sunday before Christmas, 73 years ago. In the newspapers of that Sunday, these are some of the headlines. Rescue workers recovered 24 bodies, and a coal mine official believes about 60 more men trapped or dead last night following an underground explosion. William E. Willett, former member of the Reconstruction Finance Corporation, resigned suddenly yesterday from his $11,800 a year Navy Department job. Secretary of Defense Robert Lovett reported to have taken a hand in Willett's case upon finding the Navy had employed him. President Truman appealed last night to 650,000 steelworkers as good citizens not to strike on New Year's Day and thus help the cause of the communist enemy. Truman made the appeal to the CIO United Steelworkers Union and at the same time referred the deadlock wage dispute to the Wage Stabilization Board. The Allies dramatically invited the communists yesterday to come to the South and see for themselves that some 37,500 disputed prisoners are actually South Korean civilians and not genuine Red Army men. By this offer, they sought to quiet some of the red haggling which had stalled armistice talks. U.S. has protested to Moscow against Red Hungary's detention of 4 American flyers and has asked the Kremlin's influence to obtain their freedom. The protests lodged in Moscow by U.S. Charge d'Affaires Hugh S. Cummings on instructions from the State Department. Meanwhile, the Hungarian government, prepared to try those 4 airmen as border violators, announced last night the arrest of 4 other persons on charges of spying for the U.S. The State Security Office said the leader of the spy suspects was Janos Weisengruber, a Hungarian laboratory researcher who escaped to Austria last January. The other 3 referred to as his associates, not identified by name. California citrus growers crossed their fingers yesterday and look forward to what might be the best orange crop in 10 years in size and quality, that despite the state's recent early winter cold spells. A brand new toy has been put on sale in Moscow, an electric train. Describing it as a fine new toy produced by the Ministry of the Electric Industry, the newspaper Evening Moscow published a photograph yesterday of Russian children eagerly watching a miniature railroad in operation. A slowdown has hit Russian zone industry for lack of coal in Germany. The communist-controlled land is discovering big words are a poor substitute for fuel in the furnaces of industry. The so-called 5-year plan, which the Red regime promised would make East Germany strong and independent, has been moved back in schedule by many months. And the Christmas spirit prevailed across the nation yesterday, bringing cheer to many who had faced a dreary holiday. The U.S. Air Force, Governor Thomas E. Dewey of New York, an airline, a housewife who played Santa Claus, and an 8-year-old shoeshine boy were among those who pitched in to do what they could to brighten the holidays for less fortunate people. The Christmas spirit even tipped in scales in justice in favor of leniency, as some Yuletide offenders were forgiven or given light punishment. Those some of the day's news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, December 23rd, 1951. On your radio, we just heard Joel McRae and the Tales of the Texas Rangers, and in a moment, it will be The Whistler.
It is the busy folks, particularly, who should listen to this bit of advice from the American Cancer Society. Regular physical examinations are important in the fight against cancer. Medical science today can cure many cancers if treatment is started soon enough. In other words, to cure cancer, it has to be discovered in its early stages. Regular physical examinations are one of the best ways in the world of detecting the condition in time. Another way is by knowing cancer's 7 danger signals. If you'd like a free list of them, plus a lot of other life-saving information, write today to the American Cancer Society in care of your local postmaster. Providing information to fight cancer is part of the American Cancer Society's job. Other vital parts of its job are to provide research, education, and service to cancer patients. You can help in the fight to beat cancer. This is Cancer Control Month by proclamation of Congress. To help, please send a contribution now to Cancer in care of your local postmaster.
We continue now on Classic Radio Theater with our final show from December 23rd, 1951, 73 years ago. Betty Lou Gerson, an exceptional performance in this episode of The Whistler, The Christmas Gift.
And now stay tuned for the mystery program that is unique among all mystery programs. Because even when you know who is guilty, you always receive a startling surprise at the final curtain. In the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, transcribed by the Signal Oil Company to enable the entire production staff of The Whistler to spend the Christmas weekend at home with their families. Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invite you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Signal Oil Company, The Whistler's strange story, Christmas Gift.
Christmas was only a few hours away, and Mary Winston couldn't help but marvel that its spirit could reach down and touch a cheap nightclub like Pete's Cantina on the outskirts of Panama City. Sitting alone at a table, she gazed at her tawdry surroundings. And then from the bar at the far end of the club came the strains of a Christmas melody, a melody which brought back memories of happier Christmas Eves. Yes, the Christmas spirit is undying, isn't it, Mary? You watch the strolling soloist, Sailor Reynolds, nod as he comes closer and passes your table. It's been 3 months now since you were hired as a singing hostess at Pete's Cantina. 3 months that you've been billed as Candy Porter with no one, not even the proprietor, knowing your real identity, Mary Winston. At long last, as Candy Porter, you seem to be safely away from your past. As the music ends, you look up, aware suddenly that Pete Gardinas, the rolling, heavy-set proprietor, is approaching your table.
Candy! Candy! Look, there is an American gentleman just came in. He wants to buy you some champagne. Champagne, you hear?
Please, I'm not in the mood tonight.
Look, kid, this looks like a big spender. If he wants to buy champagne...
All right, all right.
You turn and see the tall, heavy-set American approach, and suddenly you become tense. After a year of running away, you've learned to spot his kind in a moment, haven't you, Mary? You're certain he's a detective. And now you have to fight to remain calm as he approaches.
Sit down, Mr. Fontaine. Sit down.
Sure you don't mind, Miss Porter?
Of course not.
Thanks. In that case, I will.
I'll go get the champagne. I keep him on ice. 11 years old, too.
Cigarette, Mr. Fontaine?
No, thanks.
You don't mind if I do?
Oh, no, of course not. Oh, here. Light?
Thanks.
Well, this is very unusual for me, spending the Christmas season so far away from home.
Mm-hmm. How come?
Business. Important business.
Couldn't it wait?
No. This business means a lot to the... people I work for.
Yes, what do you say, the bubble water? From Marseille, 13 years old.
You said 11.
That was from Le Havre. This is even better. Now I put him back in the ice. If you want some more, just call Pete. I've got more just like it.
Well, I guess it's a few hours early to say Merry Christmas, Miss Porter. So I guess I'd better just say good luck, huh?
Thanks. And here's hoping you find whatever you came here for.
Oh, I've already found what I came for. You see, I came for you, Mary Winston.
Friends, to all of you who have opened your homes to the Whistler, not only throughout the year, but even tonight on this last busy weekend before Christmas, Signal Oil Company has asked me to express their sincere appreciation for this privilege and pleasure. And we of the cast want to add our thank you, too. During the 9 consecutive years that the Whistler has been broadcast by Signal Oil Company, many of us have celebrated Christmas with many of you a number of times. And believe me, we're mighty proud that you consider us a part of your entertainment family. Tonight, on behalf of Signal Oil Company and the independent signal dealers who serve you in the states of California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, Arizona, and Utah, I want to convey warmest season's greetings. May the many blessings of living in these United States of America enrich your holiday season and the new year.
It's ironic, isn't it, Mary? A sorry Christmas gift after all the months of hiding, running from one town and then another, using a different name in each place, but never your own, Mary Winston. These past 3 months you've been known as Candy Porter, singing hostess in Pete's Cantina here in Panama City. And now this detective sitting across from you has called you by your real name, Mary Winston. And you can't run, can you, Mary? Facing Fontaine, you decide there's only one move you can make. That you've only one card left. But if you play it wisely, carefully, it might prove to be an ace.
You say you came here after me, Mr. Fontaine?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you mean.
I think you do. And if I were you, I'd be ready to leave for Los Angeles in the morning, Miss Winston.
Like the billing says, my name is Candy Porter.
I know what the billing says. I know what it said in Brooklyn when you were billed as Doris Trent. In Denver when you were billed as Gladys James. But when you took a powder out of Los Angeles a year ago, you were Mary Winston.
You know, it's strange you're mentioning Mary Winston. I was even thinking about her when you came in. A lot of other people have mistaken me for Mary Winston. We could have passed for twin sisters. She was my best friend. I could tell you a lot about her if you feel like listening.
Sure. I'll listen. Go ahead and talk if it'll make you feel any better. We can't get away until tomorrow morning anyway. The more you tell now, the less you'll have to tell later.
Thanks. You see, Mr. Fontaine, Mary Winston was just a good kid who got a bad break. She was in love with a swell guy, but scared to death of a hoodlum. It's an unusual story, Mr. Fontaine.
It was an unusual story, wasn't it, Mary? It began a year ago at a Christmas party given by your employers, the Southwestern Manufacturing Company, in the pink room of the swank Wilchester Hotel. And you were the hit of the evening. You sang 3 songs and went over big. Your friends from the office hadn't known of your talent, but they all agreed you were fine, and when the party was over, you were feeling good. So good you decided to drop into the hotel cocktail lounge, make a phone call or 2, and have a nightcap by yourself before going home. When you finished your phoning, you walked to a vacant stool at the bar.
Scotch and soda.
Make mine the same, Bill.
Gotcha.
I I heard you sing tonight. You were terrific.
Thanks.
What's the matter? Did he stand you up?
Who?
The guy you were just talking to on the phone. No. I guess he didn't stand you up.
Didn't he?
He's on his way here right now. Lucky guy.
Here you are, folks.
Take it out of here, Bill.
$1.80 out of 10.
Well, now look here, Mr.
Oh, take it easy. It's practically Christmas. What's the harm in my buying you one drink? Like I said, I liked your voice, Miss Winston.
Change.
Thank you, Bill.
You a detective or a mind reader?
Oh, you mean your name?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't any trick to find that out. I just asked one of the boys I saw dancing with you. My name's Joe Collins. I see you've never heard of me.
Should I have? Oh, now I get it. You're a professional talent scout and want to get me into the movies.
Nope. I'm a gambler. Disapprove?
Why? Live and let live's my motto, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now.
What?
Live my life and let you live yours. Good night, Mr. Collins. Just think I can tell the girls at the office tomorrow I met a real live gambler.
Wait a minute. You could tell them a lot more than that if you believed in your voice as much as I do.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You've heard of Domingo's out on Sunset, haven't you?
It's an undercover gambling club, isn't it?
It's more than a gambling club. There's a swell floor show. A lot of big people go out there, people that count.
And all intimate friends of yours, I'm sure.
No, but I know quite a few. Some who could push you right to the top with that voice of yours.
Mr. Collins, this is the oldest line I ever heard.
It's not a line, but skip it. Go on home, listen to the radio, eat candy. You can have a terrific time. If you go to Domingo's with me, you can't tell what might happen. You might have to meet a couple of show producers, maybe even sing. So play it safe. Go on home. Maybe dull, but you'll always get to work on time.
Is that all you have to say?
Yeah, that's all. Except, nighty-night.
Wait a minute.
Yeah?
Could we be back early?
We'll leave any time you say.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Well, now you're making sense. I'll call a cab.
Well, never mind. I have a car. It's parked right around the corner.
Joe Collins used just the right approach, didn't he, Mary? You realized you were being a fool. But as the hours passed, you told yourself your fears were groundless. Joe treated you with perfect courtesy, introduced you to several people, including the producer of the floor show. You even sang a number which was well received. Later, you watched the gambling for a while and then proceeded to the Silver Room to enjoy the second floor show. Afterward, you had supper in the main dining room and watched the guests dancing.
Joe.
Then suddenly, you've had enough.
Joe, do you mind if we leave now?
I said we'd leave any time you said. What hit you, the music?
I guess that's it.
Another guy?
Another guy. My fiancé, Dr. Frank Wilson.
What happened to, Dr. Wilson?
He's in Korea.
Marines?
No, Army doctor. It was his car we drove out here in.
Oh, that's too bad. We could have had a lot of fun. Well, shall we go?
Please.
Hop in, unless you want me to drive.
No, I'll drive.
Good. We'll probably be safer that way.
As you drove toward your little apartment on Clinton Avenue, you were glad your reckless little adventure was nearing its end. Everything had been fine so far, but you couldn't throw off a feeling of uneasiness. For a few miles, Joe said little, and then he seemed preoccupied, and you were relieved when he finally broke his strange silence.
Say, Mary, would you mind stopping for a minute at that drive-in? All of a sudden, I got an awful headache. Maybe I can get some aspirin there.
I doubt it, but we'll give it a try.
You can keep the motor running while I'm gone, huh? I'll only be gone a few seconds.
Okay. What? Joe!
Get going.
Joe, you shot him.
I said get going fast. There's a gun in your ribs, baby. You just saw what happened to one guy that crossed me.
Did you kill him?
I don't know.
Oh, why was I such a fool?
Turn right at the next corner. A car's been tailing us for the last 5 minutes.
I'm glad. I hope it's a prowl car. It'll save me the trouble of phoning the police.
I said turn. Yeah, he didn't turn, baby. You know, you shouldn't have said what you did about phoning the cops. Nobody but me and you knows about that drive-in job. You just better pull over and park. We got a couple of things to talk over. I said pull over.
Please, Joe. Joe, don't kill me. I know you can do it easy, but I'll never tell about tonight.
That's the way you feel now. An hour from now, you'll feel different.
Oh, no, I won't. On my word of honor, I'll make a deal with you, Joe. I'll trade you my silence for my life. I swear I won't talk about it ever.
You sound like you really mean that.
Oh, I do mean it, Joe. I swear it. I swear it.
You're swearing, huh?
Yes, Joe. I swear it.
Well, I'm not being very smart, but I'm going to take a chance. You drove the getaway car, so I guess that makes us partners anyway. Yeah. You know, partner, we ought to have a lot of fun together. Now, how about dropping me off at my place, huh?
Tell me where to go.
Live about 6 blocks from here. Just turn to the right at the next.
After you dropped Joe and reached your apartment, you were so weak you could hardly stand. You literally fell into bed. You tried to sleep, but sleep was impossible. Early the following morning, you heard the newsboys shoving the morning paper under your apartment door. You hurried across the room and looked at the front page. The headlines and stories sickened you.
Drive-in manager shot in attempted holdup. Dies. Unidentified man and woman seen fleeing from scene of crime in dark green 49 model sedan. Pedestrian believes he can identify car.
There it was, Mary. Your situation looked hopeless, didn't it? You felt you must keep your word to Joe Collins, but you knew you must never see him again. Only one avenue seemed open to you. You had to leave town and disappear. You dressed hurriedly, packed a few belongings, withdrew your savings from the bank, and by noon were on an eastbound plane for New York. You decided to take advantage of your voice and become a professional entertainer. The first few weeks you auditioned almost daily with negative results. But finally, after 3 months, you were singing at the Golden Lion, a prosperous little nightclub in Brooklyn, New York. After a shaky start, you became a featured performer under the name of Doris Trent. As the weeks went by, your work improved. You became sure of yourself. And one night you noticed Vern Shields, famous musical comedy producer, in the audience. His presence seemed to inspire you, and you went over better than ever. Afterwards, in your dressing room, you wondered what he thought of your voice. You were certain that your visitor was Vern Shields. Weren't you, Mary?
Come in.
Oh. Well, long time no see, Miss Trent. Doris Trent, it says on the program.
Joe.
I'm surprised you recognized me. I thought you'd forgotten me.
All right, Joe, you found me. Now, what's on your mind?
You double-crossed me, baby.
Well, you're crazy. That's why I left town, so I wouldn't even have to talk to anybody.
You wrote the police, though, didn't you?
Oh, you're wrong, Joe. I didn't write to anybody.
It had to be you. It couldn't have been anybody else. 2 days after you left, they picked me up for questioning.
But it wasn't me. I've kept my word with you, Joe.
Yeah? Well, there's one way you can convince me.
How?
Marry me. Tonight.
Marry you?
Mm-hmm. That way I'll be sure of you. Wives can't testify against their husbands. Besides, I'll know what you're doing all the time.
Look, Joe, I gotta do my show. Let's talk this over in the morning.
Tonight. We can run up to Connecticut. But go ahead and do your show. Only if you've got any ideas about calling the cops, don't forget you drove the getaway car. And in case anything happens to me, there's a written confession in my pocket telling exactly how you helped me pull the job. How we used your boyfriend's car. You kept the motor running, waiting for me.
You've thought of everything, haven't you?
Everything, so don't try anything. Now go ahead and do your show. I'll wait for you here.
You started down the hallway, turned toward the powder room off stage. Suddenly you realized what a fool you'd been. But you made up your mind not to keep on being a fool, didn't you, Mary? Not with that wall telephone just 5 steps ahead of you.
Operator, get me police headquarters in a hurry.
Better hang up quick, baby. I mean, quick. I had a hunch you'd try to double-cross me. Now I know for sure who wrote that note to the cops.
Didn't you, honest? I didn't.
You just tried to call him, didn't you? All of a sudden, I've lost interest in getting married. We're just going to take a little ride. Now, come on, baby.
No, Joe, I'm not moving a foot. Not an inch. You let go of my arm.
Hey, what's going on here? Something wrong, Doris? This guy bothering you?
Yes, he is. He wants to date me. Tell him to leave, will you, Eddie?
Well, maybe I better take him into the office and call the cops.
No, thanks, Eddie. There is no need for that. He's just another wolf. Tell him to leave. That's good enough.
You heard what the lady said, Bob. Start traveling.
Okay, Pop, anything you say. I'll see the lady later. I'll be parked right across the street, Miss Friend.
You should have let me call the cops.
I would have, if he hadn't had you covered with a gun.
Oh, I see. Gee, thanks, kid. I guess you saved my life.
Skip it. Look, Eddie, I gotta get out of town, and fast.
After what you just did for me, getting you out of town is a cinch. Grab some clothes while I phone my wife. I'm bringing you home. We'll go out the rear entrance. My car's on a lot next door. Tomorrow I'll call a friend of mine in Denver. He'll put you to work right away. You better change your name, though.
That'll be easy. I'm getting used to it. So, Mr. Fontaine, that's where I met Mary Winston. In Denver at the Hi-Hat Club, billed as Gladys James. She was there for quite a while, room with me. Then she left just like that one night, when a waiter told her some guy wanted to interview her for a magazine. She figured it was Joe Collins again. That's the last I ever saw of her.
That's the end of the story?
That's the end.
And Mary Winston told you all this?
Well, we were close friends.
I'll say you were.
You don't believe me, do you?
If you were in my position, would you believe a story like that?
No, I don't suppose I would.
With Santa's arrival only 2 days away, who can help being in a whimsical frame of mind tonight? Whimsical about such things as how Santa can travel so far in one night. Well, maybe here's the answer. A child asked his father one day how St. Nick went so far on a sleigh. The wise father replied, he can take that long ride 'cause his reindeer drink signal, they say. Well, I decided to check this story with Santa himself, and now I can report to you. Said Santa when boarding his sled, "This year I'm using my head. It's signal for me. I'll go farther, you'll see." And over the rooftops he sped. Now, as you've no doubt guessed, in addition to letting you in on Santa's mileage secret, there's also a moral to this story, which is... the gas used by Santa, my lassie or lad, is also the gas that is best for dear Dad. With Signal, Dad's car will not only go far, but give top performance, the best to be had.
Well, Mary, it looks as though you've lost, doesn't it? That your show wasn't good enough. The man across the table, the detective you're certain has come to take you back to Los Angeles. to stand trial for a murder you had nothing to do with, doesn't believe you. You're certain, too, that the jury in Los Angeles won't believe you, not after you're running away. Your phony names, your present surroundings. You're sure Joe Collins has been captured, that the authorities have read his confession, that he's trumped your last card, ruined forever your hopes of eventual reunion with the man you still love, Dr. Frank Wilson. Yes, Mary, it looks as though you've lost, but you're going to play the game through to the end anyhow. White Christmas. If Sailor Reynolds knew what that song did to you, the memories it brings back, he'd play something else, wouldn't he, Mary? As Fontaine gazes into space and drums his fingers silently on the table, you watch him closely, await his next words.
How long did you say you'd been here?
I didn't say, but I got here about 3 months ago.
You like it here?
No.
That's what I figured. Look, Miss...
Cigarette, Mr. Fontaine?
Yeah, thanks.
Light?
Mm-hmm. Thanks again, Miss Porter.
Did you say Porter?
That's what you said your name was, didn't you? That's what the billing says, too, isn't it?
You mean you believe me?
It sounded straight to me. Well, it looks as though I came a long way for nothing, doesn't it? Still, I'm kind of glad I came. I always figured that confession they found on Joe Collins' body was a phony.
Joe Collins? Joe Collins dead?
Yeah. The Brooklyn police got him one night about 5 months ago. A woman called the police from a little nightclub, the Golden Lion Club. She hung up before they answered the phone, but the Brooklyn boys decided to investigate anyway. One of them spotted Collins in the car parked across the street. He got trigger happy, and that was that.
Joe Collins. Finished.
Right. Well, Miss Porter, if you ever run into Mary Winston...
I'll tell her all about the Christmas gift I got from a swell detective named Fontaine.
No, I'm just a private detective, Miss Porter. But the police gave me the tip that you... Mary Winston might be working here.
Oh, then they knew...
A man named Wilson hired me for the case. A Dr. Frank Wilson.
Frank?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's out of the Army now. Still very much in love with Mary Winston. Doesn't care where she's been. Just wants her to come back and marry him.
He must be quite a guy.
Yeah, he's okay. Now, incidentally, do you think you'll ever see Miss Winston again?
Yes, I do.
Well, do you think she might come back to Los Angeles sometime and clear things up with the police? Make the doctor happy?
I'm sure she will. Someday. You see, a girl like Mary gets to feel a little soiled after working around joints like this. She'll probably want to spend a year or so in cleaner surroundings. Maybe out in the desert. Sort of freshening up before going home. Seeing anyone she cared about.
Yeah. From what you said, I expect she would. Well, I might as well be getting along. Merry Christmas, Miss Porter. Happy New Year.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Signal Oil Company has asked me to remind you, there's an easy way we can all help to make this holiday season happier for ourselves and others. Drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, Betty Lou Gerson, Bill Conrad, Bill Boucher, Marvin Miller, and Brett Wood on the harmonica. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Ed Bloodworth, music by Wilbur Hatch. and was transcribed and transmitted overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler was entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Remember to tune in at this same time next Sunday, when the Signal Oil Company will bring you another strange story by The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking for the Signal Oil Company. Stay tuned now for Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is the CBS Radio Network.
December 23rd, 1951, Suspense here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, wrapping up our look at this date 73 years ago today. Thanks for being with us here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Our Christmas Eve program, a very Christmassy program, a Christmas Carol starring Lionel Barrymore, the Treasury Star Parade starring Lionel Barrymore in a wartime Christmas Carol, the Screen Guild Theater production of Pinocchio. That'll be followed by Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon, the final episode of that program, along with Superman. That's all coming up on Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On Wednesday, our Christmas Day show will include Casey Crime Photographer and the Santa Claus of Bums Boulevard, the Hot Point Holiday Hour, The Man Who Came to Dinner, starring Jack Benny. Also, Fred Allen and the Mammoth Department Store, Nick Carter, Master Detective and his Christmas Adventure, The Mysterious Traveler, and Orson Welles, his Christmas show. That'll all be coming up in an extra long Christmas Day program, so hope you will tune in and listen. All right, am I ready to go here? No, I'm ready to take a break, because coming up in just a moment here, we will have an episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Maybe you're about to hit the jackpot. Maybe you're on the point of inheriting $500,000 or finding oil. Chances are, though, that none of these lovely things will happen. Chances are, if you want a bonanza in the future, you'll have to save it up. Now, there are a number of ways to do that. Some people stuff their mattresses, stash their cash behind a loose brick in the fireplace, or slip it under a floorboard. None of these methods make sense, because money so stored isn't making a cent for you. Not only that, it may get lost or stolen. Wouldn't you rather your savings made more money for you? Wouldn't you rather have them theft-proof, loss-proof in every way?
Of course you would. And you can the United States Savings Bond way. Through the payroll savings plan where you work, or the bond-a-month plan where you bank. $3 will get you $4 on maturity every time. Nicest thing of all, it's literally impossible to lose your money.
If Baby shreds your bonds into confetti and drops them out the window, you can recover your cash plus interest in United States Savings Bonds.
And now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, a not very pleasant holiday story starring Herbert Marshall. This from 76 years ago, December 23rd, 1948.
In just a moment, Autolite presents Suspense with Herbert Marshall. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and in Santa Claus' sleigh, the electrical system was plenty okay. The ignition was perfect, worked like a dream, and the sleigh ran so smooth it made Santa beam.
What was Santa's secret, Otto?
I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "It's no secret at all. It's just Autolite."
Now, Harlow.
You see, Hap, with all the kids in the world depending on old St. Nick Christmas Eve, he plays safe by replacing old or worn-out parts in his Autolite-equipped sleigh, with Autolite original factory parts: resistor spark plugs, stay full batteries, distributors, starting motors, coils, generators, wire, and cable. All famous for their Autolite ignition-engineered dependability. Santa does it. Why don't you?
Harlow, let's switch from Santa to Suspense.
Suspense. Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Starring tonight, Mr. Herbert Marshall in Anton Leader's production of John Collier's Holiday Story. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Jingle bells. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun. Just to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells.
Wilfred! Wilfred!
Yes, my dear.
What on earth are you doing down here in the cellar?
Why, just doing a little digging.
And why, may I ask, have you chosen this day of all days to dig up the cellar floor?
Well, I thought as the weather's been so damp, this would be a good time to plant that little Devil's Garden I told you about.
Devil's Garden? Whatever nonsense is that?
Oh, that was my little joke about it. You see, I've managed to get hold of the spores of several unclassified wild orchids.
Oh.
In their wild state, they bloom under damp masses of leaf mold. The Araucanian Indians call them devil flowers because they appear to bloom under the ground.
Well, I'm sure the Araucanian Indians will be very interested if you succeed in growing these ridiculous flowers under the cellar floor. Whom else it will interest, I can't imagine. Ooh, what's that terrible smell?
That's the leaf mold. Chemically identical with the earth blanket they grow under in the wild state. I suppose I should line the pit with concrete so as to prevent seepage from this foreign soil, but I don't suppose there'll be much time for it now, and I do want to get these started before we close the house.
There certainly will not be time for it. Do you realize that we're sailing for America a week from today? And you've made no arrangements whatever. Unless you call digging a hole in the cellar making arrangements. I certainly don't. Devil's Garden, indeed. Sometimes I think you're going soft in the head, Wilfred.
I suppose it is inconsiderate of me. You see, I've been wanting to try this experiment for a long, long time, but what with my lectures and seminars at the university, there never seemed a time.
Well, there certainly isn't any time for it now. I suppose you've forgotten I made an appointment for you at the barber's this afternoon.
Oh, no. But, must I shave off my beard, Hermione?
I thought we'd been through all that. Of course you must. They don't wear beards in America. Go get your jacket on and do as I tell you.
Yes, Hermione.
And don't forget to take your umbrella. It looks like rain.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, don't look so put upon, Wilfred.
No,
Someone has to plan things in this house, or you'll never even get to the university in time for your lectures, much less make arrangements for a trip to America.
Oh, I know. But what about my specimens?
There'll be plenty of time to plant your precious Devil's Garden when we get home from America. We're not going to be gone forever, you know. We'll be back here for the holidays.
Oh, yes, of course, back for the holidays. I'd forgotten.
Well, try to remember it. And if you can't do that, just do as I tell you. I've been making the plans in this house for 20 years, and if there's any digging to be done, I'll manage that as well. You understand, Wilfred?
Yes, Hermione.
Good. You have just 20 minutes to clean up this mess down here and keep your appointment at the barber's. And when you finish there, I want you to come straight home.
Oh, I wanted to stop and pick up some books I ordered.
Well, all right. But don't loiter the whole afternoon browsing over those old books the way you usually do. Now hurry and clear up this rubbish. Get rid of that smelly stuff. And no more digging, mind you.
Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. How many years has it been since I've been saying that? 10 years? 15? 20? Clear up the rubbish. Yes, Hermione. Don't forget your umbrella. Yes, Hermione. Do this, do that. Yes, Hermione. Yes. How much longer can I stand this?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Miss Markham.
Why, it is Professor Carpenter, isn't it?
Oh, you like me better this way?
Oh, you look ever so much younger without the beard. 20 years at least.
20 years.
You'll be glad to know those books you ordered have finally arrived.
Books?
Phytotomy of phalloid gametophytes and coniferous shrubs of North America. Those are the ones you ordered, aren't they?
Yes, thank you. You're very kind, Miss Markham.
Why kind, Professor Carpenter?
Not many young ladies in bookshops would go out of their way to look up rare books for an old professor of botany.
Why, you're not old, Professor Carpenter. Really, you look... And besides, I adore botany. It's my particular hobby.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You never told me that before, Miss Markham.
I was afraid to. You were so imposing with the beard and all.
Miss Markham.
Yes?
Forgive me if this sounds foolish, but I feel that shaving off my beard is the most important thing I've done for Well, for 20 years.
Oh, it is. I'm sure it is. I'm ashamed that I've been so distant with you all this time. Oh, there were times when I almost spoke up. Times when you came in here tired after a day with your students at the university. You seemed so alone, the way I'm alone in the world. I'd like to have asked you to stay a while and talk with me. But some way or other, I wound up by giving you your change and letting you go on your way.
You say you're all alone in the world?
Since my father died.
Did you never think of marrying?
My father was a very remarkable man. I never found anyone who seemed to measure up to what he led me to expect of men.
Miss Markham.
It's been so long since anyone called me by my first name. I'd like you to, if you want to. It's Marion.
Marion.
And yours?
Wilfred.
Oh, how long have you been alone, Wilfred?
Alone?
Oh, I knew you were a widower, of course, the first time I saw you.
A widower?
I can always tell. There's a certain sadness in a man's eyes, a sweet sadness, I think, when he's been married and then...
A widower. I never thought of it in quite that way.
Oh, but perhaps I shouldn't be talking like this. But I've often wondered what she must have been like. Your wife, I mean.
Hermione?
Was that her name?
Yes, Hermione. Not an easy woman to forget. Very strong, always managing things. The house, my wardrobe, my friends. When we dined at a restaurant, she even ordered my food. She was always managing things. You might say she... Yes, she managed herself to death.
Poor woman. She must have loved you very much. But she needn't have put herself out so. It's plain to see you don't need things managed for you.
Is that so?
You need companionship, I think. Someone sympathetic with your work. But the last thing on earth you need is a manager.
How well you put it. The last thing on earth.
Well, at last. You certainly took long enough about it. What are you looking so pleased about?
I don't know, Hermione. Getting rid of the beard, perhaps. I feel 20 years younger.
Oh, you look even smaller. Your face looks triangular or something. I'd forgotten your chin was so weak. But never mind that. You can grow it back soon enough after the holidays. Where are you going?
Down in the cellar.
Oh.
I just bought this electric lantern, and I thought I'd put it away down there.
Now, whatever possessed you to buy a thing like that?
I don't know. I rather like this lantern. Might come in handy. Who knows?
Now, Wilfred... Don't start digging down there again. I've 100 things to do putting the house in order before we leave. I want you to carry these boxes upstairs for me.
Yes, Hermione.
And if you are going down to the cellar, take this along and stuff it into the furnace.
Oh, this is my old bathrobe. I may need it.
Nonsense. I bought you a new one. Get rid of it. And don't start pottering down there with that devil's garden or whatever you call it.
I'm through digging, my dear. I think the pit is quite deep enough now for my devil's garden. It would all have to be carefully planned, of course. Just as carefully planned as Hermione was planning the trip to America. We both went about our arrangements as the days passed. I spent all the time I could with Marion, and finally she consented. And then it was the last day, the big day. The day we were to sail for America.
Operator? Operator, are you there? I'm still waiting on that call to Salisbury. Well, put them on quickly. Hello. Is this Paul Holt and Sons? It's Mrs. Wilfred Carpenter. Did you receive my letter? Good. Now remember, we'll be back for the holidays, and I want the job done without fail. What's that? Oh, no, I'm sure he doesn't suspect anything. Send the bill to me in New York as I instructed you, addressed in my name, of course. Oh, yes, I've already put them in the mail. You'll get them tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, here you are, Wilfred. Where have you been?
Backstairs. I dismissed the servants.
Dismissed the servants? But I've asked some friends of mine into a farewell tea. Go and tell them it's a mistake.
I'm afraid it's too late now. They've packed and gone.
You have messed things up properly. How many times have I told you to leave things to me? I make the plans around here.
Yes, Hermione.
You'll have to do better than this when I plan the trip home, or we'll never in the world be back here for the holidays.
Back here for the holidays, back here for the holidays. Must you keep saying that?
Why not? We are coming back for the holidays, aren't we?
Supposing I were offered a professorship in one of those wealthy American universities.
Nonsense. Americans care nothing for botany.
Luther Burbank was an American.
That's different. What have you ever done except muck around in the dirt with a lot of roots and tubers?
They asked me to lecture. That means something.
Of course they ask you to lecture. Americans will pay to hear any foreigner deliver a lecture. Once. Now, there's no use getting yourself in a state about this, Wilfred. No doubt this extra money will come in very handy when we arrive back for the
holidays.
Precisely. And it's no good you're making a joke of it. Heaven knows where you'd be today if I hadn't got a sense of time.
Yes, my dear Hermione.
And as you've been so foolish as to dismiss the servants, you may empty the ashtrays and straighten up this room while we're waiting for the guests to arrive. I'm going upstairs to change. Call me when they get here.
Yes, Hermione. Marion, it's Wilfred. No, my darling, nothing's wrong. My plans are the same, unless you've changed. No. We'll meet in New York and be married there. I'll explain why later. You'll have to trust me. Yes, my darling.
Wilfred?
Sorry, I can't talk any longer. Yes, I'll meet you in New York without fail. Until then, my darling.
Wilfred? Were you talking on the phone just now?
Yes, Hermione.
Whoever was it?
Freddie. Freddie Sinclair.
Didn't I hear you say something about meeting somebody in New York?
Oh, yes. Old Freddie said he might possibly get over there before we leave. I said, of course, we'd meet him there if he did decide to go.
Seems very peculiar, but then all of your friends are peculiar.
Yes, Hermione.
And just look at your jacket. Have you been digging in that cellar again?
Yes, Hermione.
Well, there's no need for it. You can't possibly get that devil's garden thing finished. Go and change your clothes before the guests arrive.
Yes.
Oh, never mind. I see somebody coming up the walk now. Go and let them in.
Yes, Hermione.
Wilfred?
Yes, my dear?
Look out the window. There's Professor and Mrs. Goodenough, but who's that with them?
Huh? Why, it's...
Precisely. Freddie Sinclair. Peculiar you should have been talking to him on the phone not 3 minutes ago, and now here he is.
Yes, isn't it? But then, as you say, Hermione, all my friends are peculiar.
Not half so peculiar as you. Digging in the cellar an hour before we leave for America. Just look at yourself. And now that I think of it...
Yes, Hermione?
Oh, never mind. Go and let them in.
No, you were going to ask me something. The hole I'm digging in the cellar.
Oh, good heavens, stop rolling your eyes about that way. One would think you were digging a grave down there instead of a storage bin.
Yes, Hermione.
What's that?
I said yes, Hermione.
Oh, bother, open the door and stop saying yes, Hermione.
I think, my dear, I've said it for the last time.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Mr. Herbert Marshall in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Well, Hap, what kind of presents are you giving your car this Christmas?
My car? Now be sensible, Arlo.
I am being sensible, Hap, because the most sensible thing every car owner can do is treat his car to Autolite preventive service and Autolite factory parts now. Right now, like Santa does. For with an Autolite checkup now, your car won't let you down later.
Here we go.
Look, Hap, Autolite parts are original factory parts on many makes of our finest cars. The same as those put in the car the day it was made. Resistor spark plugs, stay full batteries, generators, distributors, starting motors, coils, wire, and cable. Your car uses them all. Autolite makes them all. You know, Autolite parts and your Autolite-equipped car go together, like Damon and Pythias, like Duncan and Fife, like Chip and Dale. What's one without the other?
Chip and Dale.
So don't accept parts that are supposed to be as good. Get Autolite parts, for Autolite parts are built for your car, Santa's car, everybody's car.
Arlo, you're wonderful. Why, you've got Santa and everybody switching to Autolite.
So, friends, follow the footsteps of Dasher, Dancer, Dunder, and Blitzen, and whip on down to your nearest Autolite service station or the dealer who sells your make of car, and ask for original factory parts and service.
Okay, Harlow. Right now, here's Suspense.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Herbert Marshall, starring in a gripping tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
holidays. Hermione was so positive we would be back for the holidays. That last afternoon, pouring tea for a few friends who had come in to say last-minute farewells, she kept reiterating it.
Now, mind you, Hermione, don't let those Americans lure your husband with one of their fat university jobs. We absolutely must have you with us for the holidays.
He will be back, I promise you.
It's not absolutely certain, of course.
Wilfred, what do you mean it's not certain? Of course it's certain.
After all, Wilfred, old boy, you've contracted to lecture for only 2 months.
That's right. But then, of course, anything may happen.
Oh, Wilfred adores being unpredictable. Now, what other man would decide the very day, mind you, before leaving for America, to dig a great hole in the floor of the cellar?
In the cellar?
Yes, he's going to put some unclassified wild orchids down there. A devil's garden, if you please.
Oh, my dear.
Sounds so mysterious.
Oh, my dear.
That's Wilfred, though. It's really quite simple once you find out what he's up to. Now, take that telephone call he put through to you a few minutes before you arrived, Freddie.
To me?
Of course. Wilfred wanted to surprise me about your plan to meet us in New York next month. Wasn't that why he called? To ask you not to mention it?
But, my dear Hermione, Wilfred couldn't possibly have telephoned me within the past hour. I've been walking in the park since 3.
He didn't telephone you?
How could he? And as for my going to America...
No, come, Freddie, you may as well own up. Hermione has found me out again.
But, Wilfred, old chap, I really don't.
You see what a poor liar Wilfred makes. He's as red as a beetroot.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself, Professor, stringing poor Hermione along like that? And as for you, Freddie, I'm furious. You said nothing to us about going to America.
But look here, old girl. I've been trying to tell everyone here
Oh, stuff and nonsense. The game's gone on long enough. Besides, we must start getting ready. It was marvelous of all of you to come in to say goodbye. And don't worry about Wilfred's little jokes. I will bring him back for the holidays. You may rely on it.
They all believed her. For years, she'd been promising me for dinner parties, garden parties, committees. And the promises had always been kept. This time they wouldn't be. I'd seen to that. The servants were gone for good. The farewells all said. I had timed to the minute how long it would take to fill in the hole in the cellar. My devil's garden. Upstairs in the bedroom, I undressed, folded my clothes over a chair, put on my old bathrobe. Then I opened the door into Hermione's room. Hermione, have you a moment to spare?
Of course, dear. I'm just finished.
Then come in here for a moment. There's something rather extraordinary here.
Oh, good heavens, Wilfred. What are you lounging about in that filthy old bathrobe for? I told you to put it into the furnace.
I'll do it today. Yes, I really will, I promise.
Well, high time. Now, what is it you want to show me?
It is in the bathroom here. Just look. Who in the world do you suppose dropped a gold chain down the bathtub drain?
Nobody has, of course. Nobody wears such a thing.
Then what's it doing there?
Well, I don't see anything.
Here. I'll hold this flashlight for you. If you lean right over, you can see it shining deep down.
Such a lot of nonsense, just as we're... Well, I don't see it, Wilfred.
Go on looking, Hermione. In just a moment...
Wilfred, I absolutely refuse... Wilfred, what are you doing? Take your hands off my neck.
I will, Hermione, just as soon as I've finished the arrangements for my trip to America.
What are you talking about?
You thought you were the only one who could plan things, didn't you, Hermione? Well, I've been making some plans of my own this past week. In exactly 1 minute and 45 seconds, you'll be dead. You see, I've planned it very accurately.
You'll never get away with it.
I thought you'd say that, Hermione, but I will get away with it. You won't mind the smell of the leaf mold down in the cellar when I take you down there today. Yes, that's where you're going, Hermione. Into my devil's garden that annoyed you so much.
My friends, they all expect me back for the holidays. And if I don't come back, they'll start asking questions.
No, they won't. No, because you'll write them letters, Hermione, on the typewriter, as you always do. They'll be signed H, in that neat, cryptic way you always sign your notes to your friends.
Oh, let me up now.
No.
It won't work, Wilfred. You were never any good at planning things.
Ah, but I've changed. I've learned from watching you all these years.
The lecture people in America. They'll be expecting you to travel with your wife.
I will be traveling with my wife, but not my present wife, Hermione.
What?
Fortunately, they've never met you. I'll write a few letters home for you, then fewer and fewer. I might even come back alone in a year or two and sell the place, say you died in America. Nobody will ever suspect that you're lying under the floor of the cellar in this very house.
Wilfred, it won't work, I tell you. That pit you dug in the cellar...
I can assure you, my dear Hermione, it will serve its purpose well.
Wilfred, you must...
Sorry, my dear, I've got to get this done according to plan. You have just 5 seconds to say your prayers.
Wilfred, you must listen. The cellar... Don't do it, Wilfred!
steward.
Yes, sir?
My wife is indisposed. She'll be taking her meals in our stateroom.
For the whole voyage?
Yes, for the whole voyage.
Well, I trust your wife is feeling better this morning, Professor Carpenter.
A little, yes, thank you. Not yet well enough to leave her cabin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, here's a copy of the radiogram you sent for your wife last evening.
Oh, thank you. I'll just check it over. But look here.
What is it? Did the typist make a mistake?
No, nothing important. She can correct it later. For a moment, I had a feeling that Hermione had been leaning over my shoulder again, correcting what I had written. She always did. I had written a radiogram to Professor Goodenough and his wife. Have not been out of cabin the whole beastly trip. Wilfred well. Doubt will be back for the holidays. The copy read, no doubt will be back for the holidays. Exactly what Hermione would have written. Well, the rest of the voyage was uneventful. And Marion and I met in New York just as I had planned. Just as I had planned. Professor and Mrs. Carpenter, we have reservations, I believe.
Oh, yes, we've been expecting you, sir. Boy.
Yes, sir.
Take Professor and Mrs. Carpenter's luggage up to their suite. You know, Mrs. Carpenter, you're quite a surprise.
Oh?
Your letter reserving the rooms was so thorough. I was expecting an older, more forbidding sort of person, frankly, ma'am.
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, we are just married.
Oh?
But my letter reserving the room?
I wrote the letter, my dear, and signed it Mrs. Wilfred Carpenter, just as a joke.
What a cunning old fox you are, Wilfred.
Now that I think of it, I am rather.
Oh, I almost forgot. There's a letter for you, Mrs. Carpenter.
That's peculiar. I wonder who on earth...
Well, we'll find out in good time, darling. Come along. We're keeping the boy waiting. Nothing like a cold, brisk shower to put a man to rights.
Wilfred, this letter...
Oh, yes, the letter. Darling, dry my hair, will you?
Yes, dear. It seems to be a bill of some sort from a building contractor in Salisbury.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. Oh, bother, dry your own hair.
Right, thank you, Miss Smith. Let's see this bill or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's very puzzling, Wilfred. You were a widower, weren't you? I mean, Hermione isn't still alive.
Oh, good heavens, no. Let's have that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dear Madam, that's a good one. This is to acknowledge your order together with the keys to your house in Launceston Place. Our men had no difficulty in finding the place where your husband had begun the excavation in the cellar. But apparently he changed his mind at the last moment and filled it in again.
What is it, Wilfred?
Our men will begin digging tomorrow. You may rest assured that it'll be a professional job and will be completed in ample time for your surprise Christmas present to your husband. We are happy to be conspirators with you in this thoughtful gesture and hope that Professor Carpenter will be pleased at the results of our work that he so quaintly calls his Devil's Garden. Very truly yours, Paul Holt and Sons, Contractors.
Well, what does it mean, Wilfred?
It means that Hermione was right. I will be back for the holidays. Back for the holidays. Back for the holidays. Back for the holidays. Back for the holidays.
Thank you, Herbert Marshall, for a splendid performance. Mr. Marshall will return in just a moment.
Jingle bells, jingle through the snow. Your car's all hep, it's full of pep, with Autolite, you know.
Right you are. And by Cornelius, electrical problems won't keep your car down when you stop at the shop that features Autolite parts and service. Sure as Kris Kringle means Christmas, Autolite original factory parts and service top the town. So, friends, stop in tomorrow at your friendly Autolite service station or the dealer who sells your make of car and ask for original factory parts and service.
Autolite? You'll find Autolite service stations listed in your classified telephone directory under Automotive Electrical Equipment. And remember, your Autolite ignition system is the lifeline of your car.
Yes, friends, and remember, too, Autolite means spark plugs.
Ignition-engineered resistor spark plugs.
Autolite means batteries.
Stay full batteries.
Autolite means ignition systems.
The lifeline of your car.
And now, here again is Mr. Herbert Marshall.
It has been a pleasure to appear tonight on Suspense, and it is my pleasure to extend to all of you, for Autolite, Tony Leader and his Suspense cast and crew, and myself, best wishes for the holiday season. Next week, on radio's outstanding theater of thrills, you will hear William Bendix in another gripping study in
Suspense.
Herbert Marshall will soon be seen with Margaret O'Brien in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer production of The Secret Garden. Tonight's suspense play was dramatized by Robert Tallman from a story by John Collier. Music was composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Ethel Barrymore, Dana Andrews, Robert Montgomery, Danny Kaye, and many others. So make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. And next Thursday, same time, hear William Bendix.
This is the Autolite Suspense Show. While we in North America are enjoying an abundant Christmas, millions of people in Europe are still hungry. Your $10 sent to CARE, C-A-R-E, will go a long way toward putting some less fortunate European family back on the road to health, happiness, and freedom. Good night. Merry Christmas from Autolite.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Very similar in tone to the other story, Back for Christmas. Not Back for Christmas, but it was another show that very, very similar to this holiday story. Suspense, 76 years ago, December 23rd, 1948, here on Classic Radio Theater. Visit our webpage, please, classicradio.stream. If you would, please share our podcast. Let other people know that you're listening. Leave a review if you can, and give it a good review if you are of a mind to. And may I also ask that you do one other little itty-bitty thing, and that is tell people about the show. If you want to support us, go to classicradio.stream, a number of ways there that you can do that. All right, let's get to Fibber McGee and Molly from 69 years ago next.
We are the vocal parents of the local PTA. We're gathered here because we fear that 10 years from today, the younger generation of a growing population who look to us for leadership will look at us and say, we have no alma maters, with or without swimming pools. We have no alma maters, because we have no schools.
Our children are growing faster than our schools. And 10 years from today, conditions may become desperate unless we do something about it now. If you'd like to do something constructive about it now, write to Better Schools, 9 East 40th Street, New York 16, New York.
We can have the schools we need 10 years from today.
Let's head to Wistful Vista, 79 to be precise, and let's check in what's going on in the household of Fibber McGee and Molly. This episode originally broadcast 69 years ago, December 23rd, 1955.
Miles Laboratories, makers of Alka-Seltzer, bring you another visit with Fibber McGee and Molly. Again, we invite you to listen to the transcribed adventures of Fibber McGee and Molly. The show is written by Phil Leslie and Ralph Goodman and directed by Max Hutton. Our story will be underway in just a minute.
What are your plans for the big Christmas weekend?
Well, we're having the whole family at our place this Christmas, Eleanor.
We're taking the train for Grandmother's tonight.
And I'm going to eat turkey and dressing till I explode.
Well, whatever you do over the holidays, friends, I hope you have fun. Because the fun you have is good for you. And I hope, too, that you have lots of Alka-Seltzer on hand. Then when a headache, an upset stomach, or sore, aching muscles threaten to spoil the fun that's so good for you, take the medicine that's so refreshing. Take Alka-Seltzer. Remember this.
An extra package on the side.
Keeps the family well supplied.
Well supplied with speedy Alka-Seltzer.
Ask at your drug counter today for Alka-Seltzer. Favorite of so many. For relief that does so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, last year, Fibber and Molly brought you a Christmas program that many of you have expressed a desire to hear again. We're happy to comply with these requests, so here it is, exactly as it was heard last year. Isn't this an exciting time of year? Christmas only a couple of days off, presents to wrap, the tree to decorate, Christmas cards and packages arriving, the doorbell ringing.
Coming, 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 Christmas is coming, hooray, hooray, hooray.
Mailman!
Ow, my ear. Do you have to do that, Bagby?
Postal regulations, McGee. Here, these are for you.
Gee, more mail, huh?
Still coming. Did you and the missus get my card okay?
Yeah, thanks. Swell card, too. You get ours?
I don't know. I've been so busy delivering everybody else's mail, I haven't had time to open my own.
Well, it's in there. Well, Merry Christmas, Bag, old boy.
Thanks. And in case I don't last till then, Happy New Year, too.
Thanks. Oh, hi, Mort, Mabel. Drop over when you get a chance. Yeah, same to you, kids. Hey, Molly, more Christmas cards.
I'll have to look at them later, McGee. I'm still hunting that last box of Christmas tree ornaments.
Haven't found them yet, huh?
No, I'm sick about it. Those are the family ornaments. The ones we've had since we were married.
Gee, that's too bad. Well, I don't know. Hey, did you try the linen closet upstairs? That top shelf? Sometimes we put those...
Oh, that's right. I never thought of that. Say, wasn't that the back door?
Grocery boy at the tradesman's entrance.
Yeah, it's the old timer. You go ahead. I'll get the groceries.
All right, dearie. Don't forget to wish him a Merry Christmas for me.
Yeah, okay. I hope she finds those family ornaments. I feel worse than she does because I was the one that put them away last year. Old-timer, let me take this opportunity to wish you... Old-timer, hey! That's funny. Just left the groceries and... Ah, wouldn't you know it. The minute I get out in the kitchen, somebody rings the front doorbell. Well, who is it?
Friend of the family's at the front entrance.
Hey, what's going on here, old-timer? Weren't you just
Yeah, but I got a present for you and daughter, Johnny.
Huh?
I deliver groceries at the back entrance, but not presents. Here. Hope you like it.
Well, gee. Well, thanks, friend. Come on in, come on in.
Thank you, friend. I believe I will. Say, that's a beautiful tree you got this year, Johnny. Tall and straight, not too full, but just enough limbs to make things look nice and even. But ain't that an unusual ornament you got sitting up on top? Stocking cap?
That's the coat rack. Our Christmas tree's in the front room.
No. Kind of thought that umbrella ornament was a little large. I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Oh, I appreciate that.
As a matter of fact, I thought the whole tree looked lousy, but I...
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, come on in.
Can't stay, Johnny. Just going around town, lying like heck and spreading good cheer. Give daughter my best. Merry Christmas to you both. Oh, Noel, Noel, Noel.
Hey, Molly. The old-timer just said Merry Christmas.
Well, good. I'm sorry I missed him, but I'm still looking for the ornaments.
They're not upstairs, huh?
No, and I've just got to find them.
Hey, that's it.
What?
I know where the ornaments are. They're right here in the hall closet.
Oh, no, don't open that,
Well, what do you know? There's the ornaments right on top. Come on, I'll finish the tree.
In a moment, we'll return to Fibber McGee and Molly.
This is Eleanor Engel. Mother, I know you want to give your children every possible advantage. I've never met a good mother who didn't. So you probably know your children must have enough vitamins to maintain normal growth and development, to keep alert and energetic as they should be. Now, your meals, no matter how well planned, may not always contain enough vitamins, because vitamins have a way of getting lost in cooking and processing of food. That's why so many mothers buy one-a-day brand multiple vitamin tablets to fortify their meals. You see, one-a-day brand multiple vitamins supply all the vitamins children and adults normally need to take. The youngsters like taking them, too, because one-a-day brand multiple vitamins are small and smooth-coated, so they're easy to swallow, and they leave no aftertaste. There's no strain on the family budget, either. You can buy this protection for less than 3 cents a tablet. So protect your family from vitamin shortage. Fortify your meals with one-a-day brand multiple vitamin tablets, sold at drugstores everywhere.
Well, there's your Christmas tree, kiddo, all done. How's it look?
Oh, it's just beautiful, McGee. That's the prettiest tree we ever had.
Oh, more company. Come in. Come in.
Hi, Mr. McGee. Hi, Miss McGee.
Oh, hello, Teeny. Well, I'm glad to see you.
Come on in, dear. Sit down.
Oh, boy, what a pretty Christmas tree.
Yeah?
Gee, I just can't wait till Christmas, can you? Christmas will just never get here, betcha.
Oh, sure it will, Teeny. It always has.
Christmas will be here before you know it.
You just got to be patient, sis. You got to learn to have patience.
Oh, no, that's for when I get old, mister. Patience is for old people.
Oh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it is a lot tougher when you're young. But patience is a fine thing to have. Like I was just, well, you take what happened to a little star one time. A little star that lived out past the Milky Way out there. Did I ever tell you about that little star?
No, you never did.
Well, sit down here while I sort of get my facts straight, and I'll tell you the story of the patient little star who just sat and waited for 1,000,000 years.
Oh, boy, a story. Tell it. Come on, tell it.
Well, sir, this little star was a little bitty star. Not much bigger than you are. And he lived with his family out in back of the Milky Way, about 1,000,000,000 miles from here.
Oh.
And this little star was the youngest of a fairly large family. 368,000, I believe there were in the immediate family, including his aunts and uncles, of course.
Large families are nice, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I like large families. When I grow up, I think I'll have a large family.
Yeah.
Not that large, though.
No. Well, anyway, like all little kids, this little star wanted to do big things. He wanted to hurry up and grow up and go out and be famous.
Sure.
He had a lot of famous relatives in the family. His mother was the North Star. He had an uncle that was a planet, Uncle Pluto. Some of his brothers were among the original stars that fell on Alabama.
Hey, what did his daddy do? The little star's daddy. What did he do? What did he?
Well, he was a meteor, Teeny. Yeah. He's quite a guy, too. Just a regular ball of fire. And the little star used to watch his dad and wish he could be like him. But he was just a little bitty star, and even when he'd puff up as big as he could, he only gave off about as much light as a struck match. And he used to get pretty discouraged.
Oh, that poor little kid.
Mm-hmm. But his mother used to say to him, "Patience, my child." She'd say, "Be patient. Just be a good little star and mind your manners," she'd say, "and one of these days you'll be the biggest star of all." So the little star was patient. He was good and kind to everybody, always ready to help a fallen star get back on its feet or run over to the Milky Way and bring a big dipper full of homogenized for a hungry cherub that happened to be passing. You know, just helpful.
I love him, I bet you. I love that little star. He's good.
Yep. But most of all, he was patient. Sometimes it was kind of tough, too. Like when his cousin Hal would come sailing by, for instance.
Cousin Hal?
Yeah, Hallie, his real name was. Cousin Hallie was a comet.
Oh, sure. Halley's Comet.
Mm-hmm.
We read about him in astronomy class.
That's the one, the very one. Hal was about the brightest kid in the whole family, I guess. Had a very brilliant head on him, and a tail about 1,000,000 miles long that was just as brilliant.
Flashy, huh?
Mm-hmm. Every 75 years or so, he'd go swishing across the sky, shooting off sparks and getting his picture took for the National Geographic and scaring the heck out of the natives. You know, showing off.
I hate a show-off. Willie Toops, he just shows off all the time.
But the little star, he just sat there. Because he had patience. And he knew that if you really have anything to give to the world, you don't have to go flashing around making a big commotion. You'll be discovered.
Sure you will.
And one night, sure enough, he was.
Oh, goody. Here comes the good part, huh?
Yes, sir, the little star was sitting there in his place, twinkling away the best he could, trying to brighten the corner where he was, when all of a sudden he heard a kind of a whirring noise, like 1,000,000 wings.
Oh, boy.
And he looked up, and here came a whole covey of angels on their way down to earth. And one big angel with beautiful white wings stopped beside the little star, and she said, "We've been watching all you stars since the sky began, and you're the one we want. Follow me."
Did he go with her, mister, the little star? With the angel, did he go with her,
Without a word, Teeny. He followed the angel across the sky to the east, till finally they stopped over a little bitty town in a place called Judea. And the angel turned to the little star and touched him with a wing and said, "Light up." And you never saw such a brilliant light in all your life. And they called the little star the Star of Bethlehem. And his light shone down on a stable where a baby was born that night. And the Star of Bethlehem brought a new light, the light of hope to the whole weary world. And that was the first Christmas, Teeny. And the wise men came and gathered under the star to bring gifts and prayers to the infant and to wish each other peace and joy and a happy Christmas, like we wish you.
Gee, that's a wonderful story, mister, and I hope just everybody in the whole world has a happy, Merry Christmas.
So do we, Teeny. Merry Christmas.
Your friends have more to say to you presently. Ladies and gentlemen, this is John Wald. I'm sure that tonight there is love in the hearts of all of us. Love of the Christ child and love of our fellow man. We here in America have much to dwell upon this Christmas season. In some countries, an observance of Christmas is frowned upon. Men cringe in fear before other men. What a wonderful privilege and God-given opportunity it is for us to gather with our friends and our families without fear. Our hearts filled only with the hope and the spirit that He brought into the world as a bulwark against strife, prejudice, and hate. Now, here are Fibber and Molly with a word for you.
Thank you, John. On behalf of our sponsor, the Miles Laboratories of Elkhart, Indiana, we wish everybody everywhere the happiest Christmas ever.
May the day be but the beginning of an era of happy events, each spreading joy and bringing happiness into your lives. Truly an era of peace on earth, goodwill toward men.
Good night.
Good night, all.
And there you have it. The patient little star. Fibber McGee and Molly, 69 years ago, December 23rd, 1955, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon comes up next.
Remember how relieved you were when you heard there was at last a vaccine to stamp out polio? Remember the early doubts and fears that it hadn't really been perfected? Those days are behind us. Areas where the Salk vaccine has been taken by substantial numbers of children and adults under 40 have shown remarkable results. But studies made last year show that a most susceptible group have been neglecting themselves. Almost 41 million adults under 40 years of age have not taken as much as one polio shot. Do you doubt that this is important? If so, please note carefully that after 2 years of rewarding statistics, in 1958 the incidence of polio started to climb again. The vaccine won't work on people who don't take it. At least 3 shots, spaced as your doctor or clinic recommends, are vital for maximum protection from polio. The CBS Radio Network and its affiliated stations join the United States Department of Health in urging, get your polio shots. Get them starting now.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the next to the last episode of Jonathan Thomas and His Christmas on the Moon, 86 years ago, December 23rd, 1938.
Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and His Christmas on the Moon. Oh, my goodness. I very much fear it's time for old Santa Claus soon to be here. But how in the world will we have time to pack when they haven't yet found him and brought him back? You know, the Squeebobliums stole him away, and they did it because they hate Christmas Day. Jonathan Thomas said he'd find him soon, so he started out with the Man in the Moon to Squeebobble-land. And as a matter of course, they rode upon Gorgonzola the horse. It's a long, long way they've had to go, and the trouble they've had you'll never know. For the road leads down through the fairy rings, past the home of giants and goblins and things. It's not much fun for a wee little boy, but he promised the children they'd have their toys. I'm glad it's his promise to keep and not mine, and he'll have to hurry. There isn't much time. The trouble has been there's a wicked old witch who rules o'er a land called Rumpelstitch. She's wise indeed in the ways of magic, and the things she plans are very tragic. But they've had the help of the good fairy queen. She knows how to spoil the old witch's scheme. One day as they traveled, they saw a great wall, and there wasn't a way around it at all. As far as their eyes could see and more, there was nothing in sight but a row of doors. So they entered one. Though I can't understand, they found themselves standing in Looking-Glass Land. Then lovely Queen Alice said, now that you're here, I surely must help you, for Christmas is near. So she gave them a whistle, which would make them grow tall, or, if they preferred, it would make them grow small. She said, I am sure it will help you out. When you rescue Santa, you will need it, no doubt. So they thanked her kindly and bade her good day. But in the pea-soup fog, they soon lost their way. As they wandered around, they heard weepings and wails, and out came a dragon with 13 tails. He chased them until they were quite out of breath. They were snatched just in time from a terrible death by Dinty the Keeper, who heard the uproar, and he let them come in. Then he slammed the door. But he said, here's a present. It's a piece of plum cake. If the dragon eats it, his stomach will ache. Well, the dragon ate it and got very sick. He was really quite hurt that they'd played such a trick. But right after that, their trouble was double. They were captured alive by the awful Squeebobbles. Now let's see what's happened to them, for here's where the story begins again.
Oh, gracious sakes to goodness! I'm so angry I could weep and wail, for I don't like being thrown in jail.
No, and I don't like it either. I wish we were out of here. How are we going to rescue Santa Claus if we're locked up in jail?
That wicked old King Squibbeeble, he's the meanest man of all the people. If I had my hands on him, I'd show him a thing or two. Yeah, you bet your boots that's what I'd do.
Ooh, listen, Mr. Man in the Moon. It sounds like someone was opening the door.
I wonder who it is.
Why, it's only me. Who else could it be? I've come to see you two, so as I can tell if you're hearty and well. That's what I've come to do.
Is that so? Well, let me tell you a thing or two. You'd better let us out of here. That's what you'd better do.
Yes, that's what you better do.
Now, isn't it a shame? And really, I'm not to blame for holding you prisoners so. For I can't let you out, no matter how you shout. It's impossible to let you go.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Why? Why, because of Santa Claus and a promise that I made this year. There shan't be a toy for any girl or boy, and there shan't be any Christmas cheer. That's why. And now, goodbye.
You think you're smart, but you'll find out, 'cause we'll try till we do get out.
Yes, we'll try till we do get out.
In spite of your tongue wagging and all of your bragging, you'll stay here, just never fear. And you can just remember that when you get out, it'll be hot in the middle of December.
It'll be hot for you, and that's a promise. Not only from me, but from Jonathan Thomas.
Yes.
Pish and tush, what a lot of slush. And all I've got to say, I hope you stay well in this dungeon cell, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Goodbye.
Slice. Someday that king is going to get me mad, and when he does, it'll be pretty bad.
What are we going to do, Mr. Man in the Moon?
I only wish I knew what we could do.
I wish my daddy was here. He'd fix up that old wicked king.
Oh, now there's no use to cry, 'cause we're not going to die. There's no reason for all your fears. We'll get some out some way, that I'll say. So come on now, dry up your tears.
I wish we were small as 2 little ants. Now we could go under the door. And then I did bet we could.
Oh, for goodness sakes, the Jiminy Cricket's hand flub-a-dudge.
What's the matter, Mr. Man in the Moon, if you please?
Oh, I've got an idea, and it makes me so awful sore. Why in the world didn't I think of it before?
What idea, if you please?
Didn't Queen Alice, when you were in the palace, give you a magic whistle?
Uh-huh.
Did you lose it?
No, of course I didn't. I got it right here in my pocket.
Well, then, for goodness gracious sakes alive, take your whistle and blow it twice. And if the whistle is any good at all, you'll shrink and shrink till you'll be right small.
Oh, that's right, Mr. Man in the Moon. I forgot all about the whistle.
I said not to fear, we'd get out of here, and that's what we're going to do. Yeah. We'll yet keep our promise, Master Jonathan Thomas, quicker than you can count up to 2.
But what about you, Mr. Man in the Moon? Maybe I can grow smaller and get out of this jail. But you can't.
I'll tell you the thing to do. Why, there's nothing to it at all. First blow the whistle and grow right small. Then crawl right under the dungeon wall. Then when you get out, don't make a sound, but be right quiet and look around. Then blow the whistle once more. Then when you grow up, then unlock the door. It's as simple as counting from 1 up to 4.
Oh, that's a very good idea, Mr. Man in the Moon. I wonder why we didn't think of that before.
Oh, the king will be angry and chock full of wrath. And he who laughs last always has the best laugh. Come on now, blow your whistle, Jonathan Thomas, and then we'll hurry and keep our promise. We'll show them something about Christmas cheer. We'll have the best Christmas of any old year.
Here I go, Mr. Man in the Moon. I'm ready to blow my whistle.
Then hurry and blow so you'll quickly go.
1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go.
For gracious sakes to goodness. You're getting smaller and smaller.
Oh, look at me, Mr. Man in the Moon. I'm getting as small as 2 times 2.
There, now, you're small enough. That magic spell is sure fine stuff.
Here I go under the door, Mr. Man in the Moon, and as soon as I get outside, I'll let you out.
I won't worry if you'll quickly hurry.
It'll only be a minute. Here I go, under the wall. No. Here I am outside. I must blow my whistle once. And then grow up tall again till I can open the door. Oh, I'm beginning to grow tall again. Taller and taller and taller. And now I can open the door. There, the door's open. Come on, Mr. Man in the Moon.
For gracious sakes. And now let's hurry faster and faster because now is the time to rescue Santa Claus.
We'll sneak down this hall, 'cause I heard the King Squeeble say that Santa Claus is in jail right down here.
Let us be very quiet or we'll start a riot. And they'll all begin to roar. Gracious to goodness and Jiminy Crickets. Look, I think this is the door.
I think it is, too.
Then we'll unlock the door. And open the door. Yeah. Hello, Santa Claus.
Hello, Santa Claus.
Hello, Mr. Man in the Moon. I knew you'd get here in time for this year, but you didn't arrive too soon.
This is Jonathan Thomas, Mr. Santa Claus.
I'm very pleased to meet you, if you please.
How do you do, my little man? I've met you before. And my gracious, what's more, I was planning to meet you again.
You mean on Christmas morning, if you please?
Of course. Let's see. You wanted a rocking horse, a boat, a sled, and a train. I got your letter, which said you've been much better, and you'll never be bad again.
That's right.
Oh, for goodness sakes to graciousness. Here, there won't be any toys under the Christmas tree. There won't be any Christmas at all this year if we don't hurry and get out of here. Come on, let's go through this door and turn to your right. Goodness to gracious, what a sight. Soldiers are coming. We'd better start running.
Oh, we're going to be caught again.
Run for your
Oh, my goodness. Just when they're making good their escape, they've been found out, and soldiers coming from every direction. Do you think Jonathan Thomas and Santa Claus and the Man in the Moon will be caught? Oh, I certainly hope not, because here it is almost Christmas. Well, we'll find out, I guess, in the next story of Jonathan Thomas. So don't forget to listen, will you? I won't.
December 23rd, 1938, Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. The final episode comes tomorrow. But coming up next, Claudia.
The word research has become pretty familiar to all of us in the last 10 years or so. But have you ever stopped to think what research, especially medical research, means to you personally? Without research, we would have no penicillin or any of the other wonder drugs. Research is also the most important weapon in the fight against mental illness. And mental illness today afflicts more than 9 million people. Already, research has opened up leads for preventing many mental illnesses, and research has shown us speedier and more effective ways of helping mentally sick people to get well. Research scientists say we can be hopeful, but they need help from us. They need money to carry on research. If we help science, science can give us a much better chance to escape mental illness and to cure mental illness if it should strike. If you'd like to help, give to the Mental Health Fund in care of your local postmaster. Just address Mental Health Fund in care of your local postmaster. Don't wait. This worthwhile cause needs your support now.
Let's wrap up this Christmas Eve edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox by going out and watching the Nortons hunt for a tree. This episode of Claudia, 76 years ago, December 23rd, 1948.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia, based on the famous play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you transcribed Monday through Friday by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
Oh, David, don't you feel sorry for the people who have to buy their Christmas trees in a store?
My heart bleeds for them.
I didn't ask if your heart bled. I asked you if you felt sorry for them.
No.
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 What do you mean, no?
And you can quote me.
I do. I feel pathetic for them.
You look pathetic.
Just imagine buying a tree in a store when you can chop it down in your own backyard.
If you don't hurry up and get dressed, we're not going to have any Christmas tree out of anybody's backyard.
Me hurry?
Yes, you hurry.
You...
Besides, acres of farmland are not called a backyard.
They are to me, and I'm getting dressed as fast as I can.
Well, that's as slow as it can be.
Gosh, these shoes are tight.
Your feet's too big.
Well, oh, golly. There. Whew. So have you decided where to chop the tree down, David?
I think a good spot would be the road towards Matthew Warren's place.
Oh, wonderful.
This saw is getting dull waiting for you. Now get your ski pants and sweaters on.
Trees will be there just as well in 5 minutes.
I'm not worrying about the trees. Every time you bludgeon me to take 5 minutes off of my work, it turns into 2 hours.
2 hours?
2 hours.
You just finished changing your clothes yourself, you know.
Oh, I'm ready.
Well.
I've been ready for
now
15
you are.
minutes.
Oh, I think you just think it's husbandly to rush me.
I think you just think it's wifely to keep me waiting.
How'd you guess?
Not hard.
There, my last sweater. Oh, my gosh, I'm bundled up like a bag of wool. Well, let's go. That is, if you're ready, dear.
I'm ready.
Oh, I wish Bobby were old enough to realize it's Christmas. Christmas is such a nice time of the year for children.
Well, you ought to know.
I do. It's a nice time of year for everybody, including adults and old men like you.
Where till I put my teeth in?
Just think, David, last year we had to buy our Christmas tree from a grocer's. Oh, how unromantic.
Oh, how simple.
Listen, it was your idea to chop down this tree. I loved you for it, so please don't spoil it.
Well, I didn't suggest it for sentimental reasons, the way you seem to think.
Oh, much you didn't.
I suggested it because I had to clear out the grove down by the road.
Yes, I know.
Trees are growing much too thick to thrive, and this is as good a time as any to start.
Of course, I know. And I suppose it just happened that Christmas decided to come the day after you decided to cut down the tree.
Pure coincidence.
Very sweet of Christmas, wasn't it?
All right. Think what you will. I just told you where I stand.
You can tell me all you like. I draw my own conclusion. Oh, don't forget your saw, darling.
Oh, I have my saw.
Oh! Oh, my gosh, it's cold out.
You want to go back in and put on another coat?
Oh, no. What do you take me for, an orchid? I'm a rugged New Englander.
You're not much of a New Englander.
What do you mean?
Yankees are solid people, not given to being sentimental.
Well, I'm not given to being sentimental
No,
either.
not much.
Gee.
You've been cooing about growing our own Christmas tree all day. That isn't sentimentalism. What is? Hey, careful the ice. You break your neck.
I'm not sentimental either.
Maybe not. Maybe you wanted to chop down one of our own trees because it's cheaper than buying one at the grocery.
And I'm not mercenary either.
And what are you?
I have sentiment, which is something no one should be ashamed of.
Who said anything about being ashamed?
Can't imagine. Oh, Dave, it's so nippy and cold out. I love it. It's funny, I used to hate winter, but I love it now.
What caused the big change?
You.
Me?
Just you. Oh, winter used to be so lonely and kind of sad. Now it makes me feel all brisk and strong. And you are very, very handsome in that old wool shirt.
I'm going to have to stop wearing it. It's turning my head.
Turn it this way.
Now, no monkey business.
Oh,
We're out to chop down a tree now, not for monkey business.
Just one little monkey?
All right, one monkey to keep you quiet.
I like monkeys. Your nose is cold, very
So's
cold.
yours.
Guess you're right. Guess when all's said and done, I'm not much of a Yankee. At heart.
Why not?
Sentiment is in the heart, isn't it? Oh, well, it can't be. David, do you think that... Listen to that poor crow. Ouch! Ooh, my ears feel like icicles. They're freezing.
Well, crows don't have ears, so you can stop worrying.
Oh? Well, then how do they hear?
I have no idea.
David, that's really something to worry about. Now,
Certainly
you
is.
have to look it up or something. David, we're not just being selfish about the tree, are we?
I told you that grove has to be thinned out
You're
now.
not just saying that, are you? So I won't think you're sentimental,
Let
too?
me count to 10. 1, 2, 3. No, we're here. So see for yourself. Now take a look
Yeah,
there. See how thick it
have
is?
to admit, it does look pretty thick.
Yeah.
You win. You win. Which one, David? The tallest or the shortest?
How about this middle-sized one?
Oh, I love middle-sized everythings. You gonna let me hack and chop,
I said
chip?
I'm not. This tree's supposed to look decorative and not scarred up and chipped and
Listen,
chopped
I am
a
a
bit.
very good chopper.
How do you
chipper.
know?
I just know.
From chopping spinach, I
No,
suppose.
chipping. David, would you be embarrassed if, say, Matthew Warren or Jeremiah Quigley drove by and saw you chopping a Christmas tree?
A pine tree, I would not.
You're sure of that?
And stop trying to make me self-conscious. A man has to supply a Christmas tree when he has a mother-in-law and a wife and a son to plead with him for one.
Of course. Oh, I just love it when you tease me when you're being husbandly. This is nice. This is wonderful. This is Christmas. Oh, for heaven's sake.
What's the matter?
You know you've started an echo even before you started chopping?
That makes great sense.
No. Listen, David.
Yeah, somebody's chopping all right.
Firewood, probably. We'd only hear Matthew Warner or Jared Tucker chopping. They're the only people who live close enough. Well, they're certainly not the type to chop anything else but firewood. No Christmas trees for they. They're too hard bit.
How can you recognize a person by the sound of his chopping?
Oh, I didn't recognize a person. I just recognized who the person wasn't. That's very different, you know. Very.
Oh, well, stand back.
Oh, let me help.
I'm doing the chopping. You can do the decorating tonight with Mom.
Why can't I have any fun?
All right, you chop and I'll decorate.
No, you better chop, darling.
I thought so.
And just to make things even, I'll come down with Fritz and bring the tree home in the pickup.
You will decorate, young woman. The rest is man's work.
Oh, pooful. Man's work. Pooful, I repeat. I wonder who that is. It's awfully cold for Mr. Tucker to be out chopping wood, but certainly sounds as if it's coming from over at his place.
I suppose you won't be contented until you know exactly who it is.
How did you guess?
I know my Claudia. Mr. Tucker! Oh, Mr. Tucker!
You sound like a yodeler. Hey, Oli, Oli!
David Norton!
Yoo-hoo! It is Mr. Tucker. Let's go over and say hello.
Maybe we can give him a hand with his wood. Mr. Tucker! Hey! Mr. Tucker, we're coming over!
I'm waiting for you, son.
Say, Davy, you better leave your saw and hatchet here. Unless, of course, you don't mind, Mr. Tucker, knowing you have a sentimental
anybody
wife.
know what they want to know. I don't care.
Oh, leave the saw anyway. He might not understand. You know, Jared Tucker's a chip out of an old pilgrim stone, if there ever was one.
Could you be thinking of the Plymouth Rock?
I don't know. Could I?
I think you could.
Yeah, I guess I could. David, I'll bet you that even when he was 3 years old, he didn't play under a Christmas tree. Good heavens. When Jared Tucker was 3 years old, must have been an awful long time ago.
What do you think he'd look like 83 years ago?
Just as toothless as he is today. Oh, he's such a funny old man. I love him, I think.
What are you folks doing out here on a nasty day like this one?
Oh, just, taking a walk.
That's mighty shrewy day to be out taking a walk.
Well, you're out, aren't you?
That's different with me. I was born just about the same time as the weather was born. We're equal.
What are you doing, Mr. Tucker?
Oh, just chopping some firewood.
I thought you did that in your own backyard.
You doubt my word, son?
No, but this is pretty far for you to carry your own firewood home, isn't it?
Oh, there ain't nothing too far when you got a mind and a back to do it.
Guess so. Well, how are you planning to celebrate Christmas?
Oh, ain't planning much.
Oh, what are you going to give Delilah for Christmas?
That sister of mine?
Yeah.
I ain't give her anything since I passed a cold on to her 3 winters past.
That was very generous of you.
I've seen too many Christmases to make a fuss about seeing one more.
Maybe that's why you should, because you've seen so many Christmases.
I ain't softened with the years.
No, I'll say you haven't. Oh, feel that wind.
Blow you straight out of your red flannels if you don't watch
Maybe we ought to get going, darling, before you stick to the ground.
I don't feel cold. I just feel the wind.
Mr. Tucker, can I give you a hand with your firewood?
What do you take me for, decrepit?
No, I just offered.
I'm all chopped.
Well, I only see one log here on the ground.
That's all chopped. Ain't no surprise seeing only one when one's all chopped.
Well, that certainly isn't going to keep you warm very long.
Tain't meant to keep me warm. I don't need much to keep me warm. This parcel of bones can keep themselves warm.
That's a pretty hefty log, Mr. Tucker.
You got any criticism of it?
No, I was just thinking I could walk over to your house and get the wheelbarrow.
I got my wheelbarrow with me. Honest, the way you young'uns treat a man of my age, you'd think a man's brains frittered away with his flesh. Well, you got another guess coming. My brains is just getting into high gear. Yep, into high gear.
Well, let me help you load this log on your wheelbarrow. Here, let me give you...
kind of handsome log, ain't
that
you?
feel better?
You have to have quite a fireplace for a log like that.
Log like that took a heap of chopping.
I bet it did.
A log like that'll burn all night at 12.
Guess it will, won't it, David?
Well, guess better take it home.
Here, I'll give you a hand.
Yeah, I
All
will,
right.
too.
Still, I can't imagine why you'd come all the way over here to chop one log.
Here, I'll...
Up there.
Well, your shed's packed with firewood in the house.
Oh, there's wood and there's wood, Mr. Norton. Ever heard of that?
No, I can't say as I have. I've only heard of wood.
Some wood's for burning, other wood ain't.
It's new one on me.
What's this wood
For
for?
burning, sort of way. This here's log of wood is set on fire Christmas night, and it burns the whole day and the whole night through.
Mr. Tucker, do you mean to say that this log of wood is a Yule log of wood?
What if it is?
Oh, nothing, no.
Folks been burning Yule logs ever since a long time past. It's a tradition. Yeah, that's what's called a tradition.
I see, yes.
Yes, when folks lived in big stone palaces, they brung in a Yule log. They brung it in with a load of fandangles and hullabaloosies and set it in the fireplace, set a spark onto it, and when it started burning, why, then it was Christmas.
But, Mr. Tucker, it's so sentimental.
Tain't sentimental at all. It's tradition. It's Christmas, ain't it?
Oh, I never said it wasn't,
Well,
no.
got a right to keep warm before my fire, ain't I?
I never said you didn't.
So if I'm going to burn a log of wood, it might as well be a Yule log of wood, mightn't it?
Yup, it might as well.
Say, what's the funny look there, son?
Oh,
You
nothing.
saying to yourself that old Tucker's a sentimental fool?
Is that what you're saying to yourself, David?
No. Then you young'uns think you know better than to stick by the old traditional ways. Well, that's what you think. You're plumb crazy. I'm going to get my wheelbarrow.
So Mr. Tucker and Mrs. Norton are a couple of sentimental Yankees.
You bet we are. And I'm proud of it.
Oh, you are.
I are, and I'm going to stop apologizing for it, too.
Well, nobody said you should.
Well, you had that look. Yup, I'm good and sentimental, and I'm a Yankee, too. And I'll be gall darned if it isn't a fine thing to be.
And if you ask me, I'd say with old Mr. Tucker, you're in pretty good company. Hand in hand with a chip off of the old Plymouth Rock itself.
If ever there was a season when unexpected guests could be said to be expected, that's the Christmas season. No telling who may ring your doorbell, but you'll be ready for anyone, young or old, if you have lots of Coca-Cola cooling in the refrigerator. There's still time to bring a case home from the grocer's or service station when you're getting the tree and last-minute supplies.
Say, what them two young'uns whispering about, Mr. King?
Oh, a little private joke, Mr. Tucker?
Well, my ears was burning. I got a feeling I was in on the joke.
Well, you know, ears burning, Mr. Tucker, mean compliments. So, stop worrying.
Worrying? Who's worrying? Say, young fella, what's the news about the Norton's cow? She's getting set to freshen up.
I think she is, yes. You better stay around close tomorrow, Mr. Tucker. Better stay around close, you know, in a case of extreme delicacy like this. You may be needed.
Yes, well, I'll be around. It's Christmas Eve tomorrow, too. Wouldn't be a bad present for the Nortons if Majesty delivered us a heifer. Well, I better help my Yule log along. I'll see you, son.
Goodbye, Mr. Tucker. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere. This broadcast of Claudia was supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney.
And that's from 76 years ago, December 23rd, 1948. Claudia here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. It's going to be another few weeks. We'll cycle back to 1947 for some of the introductory episodes of Claudia. But we've got some 1949 shows we'll get to very soon here. Coming up tomorrow, as we said, the Campbell's Playhouse, perfect for your Christmas Eve listening. Also, the Treasury Star Parade, Pinocchio, Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon, and another episode of Superman. And we will see you tomorrow for more Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.